I think I'm okay at bringing humour into the workplace. At the moment, HR have not come knocking down on my door. Yeah. My boss is probably...
I don't agree with that in the workplace.
I don't agree with that in the workplace. And so when I woke up in that rock bottom, I was like, you know what, mate? No one else is going to sort this out apart from yourself. I think people underestimate, if you put blood, sweat and tears on the table for people, they acknowledge that and they go, I know that you've worked really hard to put on such an event like this. Mate, no worries, anytime. How's your macchiato, mate? Second of the...
my skanky wanky macchiato.
I'm sort of a flat white and a push of
Yeah.
I'm trying to do black coffee at the moment because
that's the thing.
It's a bit more slimming. The girlfriend wants me to do it.
Yeah, well,
I'm a sucker for a flat white on a Friday.
That's the thing. This is me this week trying to just do... because one of the guys who produced the podcast is in fucking amazing nick.
See some.
I fluctuate between sort of lardy-tardy and trying to get ripped. But he was like, mate, just cut out, because I was doing like 4 lattes a day, which is nice. That's like a fucking 1,000 calories just in lattes.
Cows bloody love it.
Yeah, exactly.
Nice.
But yeah, mate. So what I'd like to start with is paint the picture of the 6 months before your first vid you put on Instagram. What was your life looking like then?
Yeah.
And actually, what was the first vid you put out?
Yeah, okay, that's actually a really good place to start. I think I'll come on to like the first point first and then come on to the second. I think, you know what, like, sounds really well. Firstly, I find it quite alien that you're having a chat with me. I think this is like, I don't know, it's quite a mad moment for me, right? Like, I'm sort of only a year into me doing the comedy. I'm only 9 months into me working at Passionfruit. I think my mates know this, but where I was a year ago into now is a very different place. I was partying hard. I was quite lost. I set up a business with my mate. We did it for 4 years. It was kind of the equivalent of like a grad scheme, but we sort of set up a food and drink discount and rewards app, and it went okay. Like, we got to travel all around the UK and meet great restaurateurs. I lived in Manchester for 2 years, lived in Oxford. And then that kind of ended. Somehow the business is still going. I don't know how. Like, still going somehow, which is great. And then I went into an e-bike business, like, run by really great lads. I kind of knew a few of them before I started, and huge growth business during COVID, as you know. And then, and then I just kind of, as ever with sort of businesses that go through like a massive growth spurt during that period, you know, obviously what goes up must come down, right? So I just found myself
going out on a Friday night party.
100%. And I just like, there was always this thing of me sort of not really thinking that I was fulfilling my potential. And all of my mates, and my mum and my dad and my girlfriend, were just like, you know, we think you're quite funny, like, but you're not really showing that. And I think for ages I was trying to basically be quite, not corporate, because I was working in startups, but be like quite businesslike and be sort of quite serious. And I wasn't leaning into kind of who I probably naturally was outside of work. But outside of work, I was playing this huge party animal, quite literally, like the monkey in the room, just being the laugh out loud guy, getting his top off, I don't know, like dancing silly or whatever.
Yeah.
And I just found myself quite lost in that moment. And so I then tried to start looking into new jobs, just because I was like, I need to maybe just have a shift of life. And so when I did that, I basically cut out drinking. Like, I cut out drinking in September last year, just to see how that went. And I basically just wrote down on a piece of paper, I was really struggling to get a new job. In fact, this one recruiter was like, well done, mate, you're the marketing director of a bike shop, big up. Now, fully charges a lot more than that. It's a great e-bike retailer.
Yeah.
But she was like, what else have you got? And I was like, oh, actually, not much. So I kind of then was like, right, what am I going to do? So on a piece of paper, I just wrote, what am I good at? I think I can make people laugh.
Yeah.
I think I'm all right at marketing. Like, I can talk, I can sell or whatever.
Yeah.
What am I bad at? I'm bad at the festivals. I'm bad on a Friday through to Sunday. So I just crossed that out. And then my best mate, Geordie, just said to me, you know, Henry, you need to start doing some comedy stuff, whether it's stand-up or whatever, just try and put it out there. So in sort of October last year, I put out my sort of first real videos, and I did like a couple on TikTok. And then my first one that I put on Instagram was a Gore-Tex character.
Yeah, with the tash.
With the tash.
Running, yeah.
Arcteryx, Patagucci, all that stuff. Basically, obviously, like, there's hundreds and thousands of us. And, like, rule number one of comedy, be a hypocrite, because I'm wearing that stuff as well.
Yeah.
And I don't know, there was just something funny around, like, Londoners who, like, are basically just doing a walk down Hackney Marshes just wearing full Gore-Tex gear.
Yeah.
And I put that out, and it just got an insane response. I got sort of 2.6 million views on Instagram. And I just had, like, 2,000 followers on Instagram, just my mates. And then overnight, I was, like, 6,000 followers. And I was like, whoa, okay. And so, and most importantly, I didn't like necessarily mind about the followers. I was more like, oh, that made me really happy doing that. I just found myself really happy that I put something out end to end. I wrote it, I acted it, and it was a great nice to have. People found it funny. So that was like the start of it. And then I just kind of built from there. And kind of from there, it's kind of all kind of rolled into place a bit, I suppose.
It's mad because I think Jimmy Carr talks about finding your edge.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've read his book, and I had the same sort of...
Sold a bike to Jimmy Carr, actually.
Oh, nice.
Gosh. Yeah.
Thank you.
Super 73, well done, Jim.
Happy
See
days.
him on Hampstead Heath having a go on that bad boy. He won't like me saying that.
But and I had the same sort of thing. I was like driving cheese around London, thinking, what the
spoke about this.
fuck am I doing?
Yes.
And I think the way you find your edge is you write down a list. This is what my kind of thinking is. You write down a list of your eccentricities, your kind of idiosyncrasies, and really lean into that, one. But then two is you can actually think you can actually be okay at 5 things, but combine them together plus your idiosyncrasies, and you become like a category of one. So like with this podcast, it's like I'm not going to be the best podcast in the world. I'm not that I'm okay at sales. I know quite a lot about brands. I love food and drink, but you combine those things together and you get hungry, which is kind of different.
100%.
Same with you. It's like, you know, you're obviously fucking hilarious, but you're probably not as funny as Jimmy Carr. You know enough about but Jimmy Carr probably doesn't know much about marketing as much as you. Combine that together and you get the Henry's A's edge.
Exactly.
And I think a lot in life, it's about finding that slipstream and edge. Again, like obviously you're not the best writer in the world, but I do write. So it's like but you have these 4, 1 + 1 equals 5.
It's all about, and my boss at work tells me, it's all about just going from 0 to 1 in one area. And also, like, the worst thing you can do is not take the first step.
Yeah.
Which is basically what we're saying here.
Yeah.
It's like, to be honest, man, I think you're doing a fantastic job. Like, you're doing really well. But, like, just making that first step in those little areas, you get to where we're getting to. And you and I are on the start of this journey. You in podcast, me in business and trying to do content.
Yeah.
But at least we've made that first step. And then it's just about, to your point, like, just continuing to do it. You may have good days. You may have bad days. You may have weekends. You're like...
reps, isn't it? Yeah.
Just reps. It's just reps and getting there. And I think...
So what was the hardest bit? Because it's not even about putting a funny video out online or doing your first podcast. It could be, it could be not having the confidence to go to do a presentation at work, but taking that first step. What was the hardest bit about taking the first step? Like putting that jokes video out? Or were you so at rock bottom that you were just like, fuck it? Like,
I was so at rock bottom.
Right.
I was like, I don't know, my girlfriend should take massive credit. Like, I almost get quite emotional about it because she was just seeing me just being a bit of an idiot. She never said one thing. She was just like there as a support. And I think for me, I just needed to get some self-respect back, like desperately.
Yeah.
Like, look, mate, I'm not fucking Jimmy Carr. I'm not bloody Stuart Lee. I'm not, Danny McBride. No, I'm a little piece of shit on their shoe. But I'm just so proud within the last year of where I've managed to get to just from that. And I think, to be honest, people say, oh, you scared of what your mates would think. But I don't care. Like, one of my best mates, George, is like, mate, you put out way too much shit on LinkedIn. I'm like, I don't care what you think. Like, I don't care. Like, I think in order to do comedy, I'm not a comedian, I'm a content creator, I want to make that clear, but like, in order to do that, or in order to build a personal brand on LinkedIn, as well as making that first step, the other most crucial thing is not giving a shit about what people may think of you. Because I think I'm going to have some people who are like, fucking hell, that wanker who does, London-centric, gentrified comedy, like, I'll give it a rest, mate. And you know what? They're probably the type of guys that I look up to. Maybe a Finn Taylor, maybe like a Horatio Gould, guys in the comedy circuit at the moment. But at the same time, I'm like, you got to start somewhere. And I dedicate a tiny bit of my time to that comedy. And I think what I'm most looking forward to in years to come, 5 years, 10 years down the line, is like, right, if I'm carving out more and more time on that, where can it get me? But at the same token, like, I'm almost afraid to do it because the alignment with business and with the comedy is working quite well for me at the moment. And I love the fact that I can compartmentalize my comedy through my work. I'm very strict on my time, and it really helps me not procrastinate during work. I get in at 9, but before that I've done my written comedy in the mornings, I've done my reading, I've done my exercise, and then from 9 till 6 at the moment. And bearing in mind, like a year and a half ago, mate, I was quite literally fiddling with my Todger underneath the table. You're like, oh right, okay, whatever. Now I'm like,
yes,
okay,
yeah,
so fiddling with my Todger on a podcast. Why not?
Why not?
Metaphorically,
I fiddle with my Todger every other day. I have it in my Google Meets.
Important to say Todger.
Yeah, Todger.
It's always a small one.
Yeah.
So, like, I think that's and just
it's mad. So it's like
really helped me with my work. I think, and obviously I've got a long way to go with my work and my career and trying to be a better manager and marketing lead at Passionfruit. But I think it really gave me it's given me clarity of thought and that tunnel vision, and it's really helped me in other areas. I think at the moment, hopefully my girlfriend would agree, like I'm probably a better boyfriend than I've ever been. I've had mates
not playing with a Todger anymore.
Yeah, you don't know. But and I think I've had some mates reach out for advice now, and I'm like, oh my god, like I was the class clown. I would look up to other mates. I still do. And like, they're the intelligent ones. Like, I'm like, oh my god, I'd love to just have a tiny bit of your intellect. I think what's been really mad in the last 3 months, and again, I want to make it abundantly clear, like, I'm really no one. Like, I'm not of any ilk at the moment, but like, just to have people reach out to me to be like, oh man, I'm seeing you doing this, and like, what maybe you thought about this with me and help, and I'm like, oh whoa, that's really, really, I don't know, it's just really nice.
It's back to that edge thing. When you have your edge and you find that edge, people come to you, which is just so like, but so there's that. Then the other thing is, I spoke to founder of Riverford, right? Nice. Riverford, live a life on the veg. I mean,
just a bit. Great.
And he was saying when founders sell their business, they swap their purpose for Prozac. I.e., they get so fucking depressed because they've lost their purpose. It's almost the reverse with you. It's like you were in that dark place. You're almost like thinking, you've got two options. Henry either takes Prozac or he finds his purpose. And I think when you're at that rock bottom, actually rock bottom is a propeller to propel you forward.
100%.
And as you say now, it's like you've got that thing. You're up before work. You do your comedy. You were writing this morning before we met.
Yeah.
And then you slay the 9 to 5 or 9 to 6.
Yeah, nice Gen Z term, well done.
Yeah. And then and I think it's super powerful, mate, because and I think it can help a lot of people. But it's finding that purpose. What was the first thoughts in your head when you woke up, when you were in that really dark malaise?
Just like I'm letting people down.
Letting who down?
My mum, my dad, I think they put a lot on their line for my education growing up, and I got a massive scholarship to go to a very well-known private school. And
which private school?
Eton.
Let's drop that in there. Yeah.
I got a huge scholarship to go there. Wasn't it like my dad had been through a bit of a court case? It gone a bit sour. They managed to get me and my brother through to really good schools, Eton, Millfield, on very high scholarships.
Yeah.
And I never I'm just so grateful to them for that. Obviously, Eton gets really bad press, but it's because the 5% are in the public eye who are doing, let's be honest, sometimes really bad shit. Mm. But there's an incredible work ethic at that school that is unparalleled. Even people say, "Oh, uni's hard." I was there mate, I was fucking grinding my ass off.
What's a day like in Eton?
Well, you're up early, you're bed late, you're working. I was working till 10:30 at night, doing essays and stuff like that. And just getting a work ethic in you was something that I got from those 5 years there that I don't think people talk about.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to get to. It's so reductionist to say everyone that goes to Eton's is an absolute twat.
Yeah.
But there's clearly. And it's a kind of, you can call those, who said it the other day, a nepo baby, a nepotism baby, which I thought was a joke. And I was like, yeah, I agree. There's obviously there's that, but it's still they're clearly doing something fucking right because
Well,
because the people on a scholarship and stuff, they're still flying.
That's the thing.
So what do most people get wrong about eating? So the work ethic's one. Because I remember we used to play you at rugby and you have to go and get changed in the fucking geezer's room. And I'm
yeah.
God, what's going on here? He's wanting to see my fucking todger there, mate.
I think what most people get wrong is like, 25-30% of kids that go to Eton are on scholarships. Like I was very fortunate. I got sort of a headmaster scholarship there, which is not really talked about. You get either a King's scholarship or a Muser scholarship. So like your George
headmasters.
It's more like big bursaries for kids that they think have the
okay.
potential, but their parents couldn't pay for them to go there.
Yeah.
And so I think like people don't talk about that, and also all of the like surrounding work that the school does in order to like put kids into areas or like the services around the local community to make sure you bloody know you are the most privileged kids going. Now, what I'm trying to get to, back to the point about letting people down, is despite that, you still get this feeling that you're meant to do great things. And that is, I think, one of the worst things that any young boy or girl can kind of have within them, because there's this feeling, and we know this now as millennials in the 21st century, that we're probably the first generation that's not going up. Like, the first generation that have plateaued, and not to be told, but to have this feeling that you're going to be successful. When you come out of uni, or come out of school, and you're a bit like, fuck, I need to do great things here because of all these people before me that have done great stuff and stuff like that. And you kind of have this feeling. So I think that 8 years of continual pressure and I didn't really have much direction. So Ed and I, my old co-founder, absolute legend, we were kind of finding our 2 feet, and we sofa surfed from maybe 20 different houses in 2 years, and it was a right laugh. And then I go into the e-bike business, and I had, Ben and Dan who were kind of guiding me a bit, but I didn't really have like the great corporate, like, here's a fantastic leader to look up to. And so when I woke up in that rock bottom, I was like, you know what, mate? No one else is going to sort this out apart from yourself. And maybe there was like a subconscious element of it's all going to sort itself out, maybe, because there's contacts, whatever. But actually, no, like you yourself need to find this within you, because I wasn't the most intelligent guy. Like, I did acting at school. I played cricket in the first team. I think that's kind of a lot of the reasons why I got that scholarship. But I didn't really look inwards at myself and being like, right, how can I use that in a business sense? Or how can I use that in my day-to-day life? Until that rock bottom moment, I suppose. I just kind of maybe went through the motions, if I'm being honest, for 8 years. And I think it's only now where I'm like, I'm really digging deeper into, I'm not calling it a strength because it's not a strength yet, like the comedy or the levity, I don't know, it's not a strength yet, but just deeping digger into an area that I think I'm okay at and working on that. I'm not fucking playing piano. I'd be shit. I'd love to bloody play the keys. I'd love to be Elton John. Okay? But like, I don't think I'm going to be a good musician. I think what I could be good at going forward is writing or helping businesses with comedy or stuff like that. Sorry, it's quite serious.
No. But this is
few minutes there.
Yeah, but
my top 2 inches. But yeah.
Yeah, but it shows the. It's almost like the iceberg, as people just see you putting comedy out online, thinking this guy's hilarious. But actually, and that's why I wanted to chat to you. I was like,
right.
Because and we'll get onto this. All this, because I'm obsessed with reading and writing. Like,
yes, we've spoken about this. That's how we, yeah.
That's like my morning probably sounds quite similar to you. It's like I'm fucking militant. Like, I will read 45 minutes, hour, write, hour. Like 6, 8. Like this morning I was up at 6.
Brilliant.
Bang.
Same.
But it's like gives me that purpose, and I actually think I know a day I don't.
Trying to compete with you there.
Yeah.
I was up at 6 o'clock as well, mate.
I was in an ice bath this morning.
Where's your Huel, mate?
Yeah. I did an ice bath and some fucking breath work.
I did an ice bath in third space, so I beat you, mate.
Yeah, ice bath followed by breath work, which was fucking 4 cigarettes. Breathe it in slowly, boys. So what's your creative process then? Yes. So maybe we can pick a. So you get up early, you read.
Yeah.
Yeah, what does your morning look like?
Yeah. Okay,
Not to be like one of those morning routine wankers.
Morning routine.
Yeah.
Listen. So I read...
Fill it with your todger.
Yeah, fill it with the todger, number one. Not when girlfriend's around. So I read a book like 5 years ago, and I never really took it in until about a year ago, and it's called The Miracle Morning. I can't remember who it's written by. but it completely changed how I operate my mornings. And it's hilariously, it's 6 things you should do before 8:30 in the morning, Dan.
Right.
The 6 things are meditate. I don't do that one because
Yeah.
I'm not quite there. I can't get Zen on that yet.
Yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
maybe I'll do a video on it soon. But like, just the Zen meditation I can't
Yeah.
do. I wish I could, because actually you can probably tell my mind is racing the whole time.
Mate,
Maybe you're the same. Like,
No, but I meditate. I've meditated.
Good. Okay.
So, and actually, I would be, mate. It will change your life if you can
Fine.
stick to the discipline. So I didn't meditate on. Like my modus operandi is like go at 1,000 miles per hour. Even like making a coffee, I'm like I need to make a coffee so fucking quickly, and then like just fucking chin it back,
down it.
And then it's
Yeah,
like, even when I'm drinking a pint, I'm like, let's just fucking drink this pint as fast as I can. It's like chill the fuck out.
Take it
The
easy.
meditation does help with that.
okay, yeah. So
I would definitely try that.
meditation's one.
Yeah.
Then it's exercise, obviously, 20 minutes. So trying to do 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I mean, it's a bit tough.
What does that look like?
Just a run around the park, around Clissold Park. I literally look like Bojo, like Boris Johnson. I've got an old cotton traders on and I'm running around with the shaggy hair. And just, you've got really quite fit, attractive Australian girls just walking around. You're there like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So that's quite funny.
Do that 20 minutes. What's
20 minutes, 25 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. I do that. I do this routine 4 or 5 times a week. So I do the
out
exercise.
on the sesh on the weekend.
The exercise, yeah. And then I do reading for 20 minutes, have to.
Yeah.
So I read, typically what I do is I read like a business book or something that can help me at work in the mornings, and I'll read at night, like something for pleasure. So most recently I read a book about how you can bring humor into like the workplace. And again, it's like leaning into that. If you're okay at something, lean more into it, I think. So I think I'm okay at bringing humour into the workplace. At the moment, HR have not come knocking down on my door. Yeah. My boss is probably...
I don't agree with that in the workplace.
I don't agree with that in the workplace. Office quote.
Yeah.
There'll be a lot of that. But so I do that. And then I affirm and visualize at the same time. So that's another, and this is where I look and sound like a complete and utter wanker. Because I run around Clissold Park and I will say to myself, maybe it's something like, we do events at Passionfruit. And I can't believe I'm telling people this, but whatever. I will go like, I will put on the best event today at work. I will put on the best event today at work. And I sound like an absolute fucking nutter. Yeah. But it's true, that's what I do. And I visualize me standing up in front of, whether it's 15 people or 40 people or 50 people, and I say that.
Yeah.
And then after that, so it's meditate, exercise, visualize, affirm. Typically the visualization and the affirmation you can do as the same thing, but I've got like a big long-term plan of wanting to write a book in the next 2 years. Yeah. And so that I visualize that moment and seeing like, God, like, imagine the North Star of, it won't ever get there, but imagine it becoming like a bestseller somewhere. So I'm like, I visualize that moment. And then I write for 20, for like 20, 25 minutes before work.
Yeah.
And that is always, never work. Like it's, very rarely it's a LinkedIn post, just because now I'm starting to do a lot more LinkedIn stuff. And next year I'm going to bring the comedy that I've done on Instagram into LinkedIn. I'm really looking forward to that. Like, you now work in digital marketing, or you're the head of marketing at a company, and I'm going to bring that in, which I'm really excited about. But it's typically always the comedy, or it's the writing about the book. And then it means I rock up, like, I'm always around this area. We're in Farringdon right now. Like, I'm always around this area at like 8 a.m. And so are my colleagues, like the bosses, the co-founders are in there around this time as well. But I do that, and then I get in at 9. I'm like, right, let's just start my day. So that's it, mate.
Yeah.
Not saying it's perfect. It's by anything, but I think
you're visualizing the pints on your Friday run.
Well, yeah.
I will drink 14 pints.
At the moment, visualizing the lucky saints. That's what.
I see off the bottle at the minute.
Off the bottle, mate.
Yeah.
For
how long?
I think like the drinking thing's interesting because no means alcoholic, like anything like that. I was just a binge drinker. We all, I think, our generation, big bingers. And I just sort of, I wouldn't drink in the week. I would get to a Thursday night, have a couple of Guinnesses, whatever. Maybe there'll be a party on a Friday night, go in a bit, maybe another on Saturday. And then before you know it, on a Monday morning, you're waking up like you've done the luge, and you're there, and you're like, whoa, okay.
Yeah.
And you're sort of knocked out. And I think, So I basically do sprints where I don't drink.
Mate, we're
And
very
so-
similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Okay.
So I've just done a so this year cumulatively.
I mean, we are literally sounding like, you know how everyone's talking about you should do this, you should do that.
Yeah.
I mean, that's
but
what.
it
I
works.
do.
But it works.
It's working at the moment.
So exactly.
It's
So
working
it's
at
like
the moment.
there's the reason people talk about it is because it works. I do think So I did a sprint. Then I went to Ibiza, and that's when I actually messaged you. yeah.
Have a good time out there, boy.
Yeah.
I was Gary Lineker's brother, was he right? He's something else. Those white bells on him.
Mate, he's fucking mate. He looks like an AI granddad. Do you know what I mean? It's hello, it's Wayne. It's like fucking hell.
Oh, God.
Yeah, but it does work. So you're off it now then.
Yeah, I'm doing 3 months off. So I basically did September to our last event at work. We'll come on to a bit more about what Passionfruit does, I'm sure, in a sec. But I basically did start doing these events at Passionfruit as a way of getting marketers in the room, and I we did an okay job from March to July, and then I brought a fantastic new team member called Elsie, who's just knockout, sensational good. I can't believe she's only 23, to be honest. But the boss was like, "Man, you've done one event a month. Well done. Let's do 4 a month." So I'm like, okay. So I'm doing 14 events. We're doing 14 events from September to the 27th of November, which is a big sprint. So it's like 2 events a week sometimes. One, and we're trying to get vice presidents of marketing or big people in the room. So in order to do that, alongside my comedy, I'm planning a wedding at the moment, getting married, and trying to be a good boyfriend, I suppose, or trying to be still see my mates. I just thought I'd cut it out, and I've been really grateful that I can kind of get my head around doing that. I couldn't in the summer because you got weddings, or again you maybe go on holiday for a bit, or you maybe just want to chill out in the park and have a few tinnies. But yeah, I've done it now, and it seems to have worked at the moment.
No, it's mad. It's I love the story of just kind of maybe you weren't using Prozac, but how it just shows how powerful purpose is, and it's like a rocket up your ass, quite literally. Yeah. Let's talk about the events, because I'm really curious about this. So as I said to you, last year we did shitloads of events. Hungry did.
Yes.
Supper clubs, live podcasts, and they were sick.
Yeah.
A lot of graft because I was doing it on my ones.
Yeah.
Then this year I knew the podcast had to go onto YouTube to grow. Trying to grow it on Spotify and Apple alone is like
you got 5 and a bit thousand subscribers on YouTube now. Really good.
Well, that's happened. So basically, we started the YouTube in
getting subscribers on YouTube is no mean feat. I mean, obviously people know that, but
but I was like, we need to do this. So we started in Feb. Mm-hmm. Literally, fuck all happened, but we just kept posting, kept getting better with the thumbnails, getting better with the titles, blah 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 blah. Yeah. And then, mate, October. So we're recording this 1st November. It's 1st today, isn't it? It's November today, isn't it?
1st November.
Yeah. And then in October it just went, and it's just, and that 5,000's all come like that. So it is that whole hockey stick thing.
Again, it's reps.
It's reps. But that's distracted me from doing the events.
Okay.
And so now it's almost like with the podcast, we have the top of the funnel, which is the pod.
Yes.
Which is the media.
Yes.
And then I want to do loads of in-person events, like brand building. One, they're fucking sick.
Yes.
I love doing events. I love meeting people.
Yeah,
it's great for sponsorship.
A man who'd be great at that.
Yeah. But I've got no idea. So next year I want to do the Hungry Hooteroonie, which is a festival.
The
Hungry Hooteroonie.
Hungry Hooteroonie.
Yeah, literally.
Get an MC Henry in there, mate.
Yeah. Mate, this is actually a fucking great idea, mate. I'll fucking tap you up, son, and we can get you doing some comedy there. But yeah, it'll be a B2B event, but I find B2B events, 1, fucking boring, 2, money grabbing, so this would be super exclusive.
Okay.
Probably doing a little cheeky Dawson rooftop, mate.
Yeah. Why not?
Keep that shroom. And then I want to do more supper clubs, but my brain is probably a bit like yours, and I just don't know what the fuck I'm doing. So I suppose the first kind of question on this is what is the art of doing a great event? What have you learnt from doing amazing events?
I mean, do I think we're even there yet on that? No, I think to bring it back a bit, maybe if I just tell you a tiny bit about what Passionfruit is trying to do on that as a top level.
Yeah, give some context.
Give a ton of context.
Yeah, sorry, that was bad for me.
That's all right.
Still do some events, mate.
Like, you know, as a freelance marketing platform, which Passionfruit is, world's fastest growing freelance marketing platform. Sounds good. That's a plug. What we're trying to basically achieve is trying to make the world of work for everyone. So we're trying to democratize.
Practice that one.
We're trying to democratize work for at the moment for marketers. So you could be working anywhere in the world, and you can you could be a specialist in a certain area: SEO, CRM, TikTok, interim head of marketing, whatever. And you can basically come onto the platform at Passionfruit, and we can get you really good work at great businesses. Now, there's not really there's loads of marketing freelancers out there who are like, yeah, pick me, that's great. So we haven't really had any issues getting fantastic freelancers on the platform. There's loads of great ones, even though we vet them very highly. So 88% of freelancers don't get on the platform, so only 12% do. But there's a growing abundance of good supply there. The issue, as ever, with any business or B2B business is demand. Like, how do you get really good customers in the room? And when I got brought in, my boss, Rafi, the co-founder, Rafi and Is, were very particular, and they just said, like, you are doing events. It was like, I'd never done an event before, genuinely, never ran an event. But he saw me on TikTok, it's how he found me, and he said...
That's your edge working.
Yeah, exactly. He found me on TikTok and went, or on Instagram, and went, oh, you know how you do these end-to-end things on TikTok? I was like, what do you mean end-to-end? He's like, well, you write the theme tune, you sing the theme tune, you know, stuff like that. I was like, oh yeah, I write them, I then perform them, and then I post them. He's like, well, could you do that for the events? And I was like, I don't know, maybe I'll give it a go. So what we realized was actually the quickest way of us being able, because the product is great, like, I'm not just saying it, the product's excellent. Like, customers love it. They understand, as soon as they start using it, they're like, whoa, this makes sense. I don't need to have a full-time hire. I can plug and play a specialist within a particular area and get great output out of them literally inside of 72 hours. So they're like, whoa, like, and it really does put the agency model, like, it flips it on its head. So agency model, big retainers, long-term retainers, maybe not specialists within that field. We're like, no, we'll just sit as this body who then plugs in a great specialist, whether you need one in Belgium or Germany or America, where 60% of revenue comes from, etc.
Yeah.
So, but the thing is getting them in getting these people to notice us amongst a sea of loads of agencies and loads of other businesses trying to do the same thing is hard. So we basically I came up with the initiative that, you know, I worked at Fully Charged and I love commuting. And I cycle on my bike, my Brompton's there. I cycle on my bike every day, and I was like, oh, these people, these marketers are trying to get information throughout their day to better improve their day-to-day work, but also their lives. They're normally listening to stuff on the tubes, right? Or they're like, that's kind of what they're doing, or they may be going for coffees to meet with people before work, like we do, to try and get information before they start their day. And so I just thought about like creating a club like called the Passionfruit Commuter Club, which was like an inside access to nuggets of information that you would not otherwise get at any other event. And when I mean any other event, like I've only been to a couple of B2B events before, but they're in a Hilton hotel with white cloths and you get a PowerPoint presentation. You might get, I don't know, a cheese stick and a vol au vent, okay? Or like, you know, stuff like that. And I'm just there like, oh, like, why would I go to that?
Yeah, so I was surfing your way through a tepid biscuit selection.
100%. A rich tea bicky that goes in your tea, dunk it out.
That everyone's got that sort of coffee breath. They're like, tell us a fun fact. My name's Ralph and I've got a cat called Carl. It's
exactly, and it's like a panel of sort of a brand director of a business you've never heard of, and you're like talking about the future of AI marketing. You're like, do you know what
I hate is, you know, they give you those name badges.
I mean, fair enough. We actually do that, but they're with our illustration, and people quite like them. They're not as like corporate, but I think that's mainly obviously so people know who the people are who are coming. But I think one thing that was very clear was all of these, like, you know, we're trying to sell so that people know on the pod, like, to scale ups that are Series A and above, Series B, and mid-market enterprise and enterprise businesses. Big logos, 100 mil to 1 bill of revenue and above. And these CMOs and SVPs and marketing directors are flying around the world. They've got all the access to AI or to, I don't know, CRMs or how that works, because they've got them at their disposal. The teams underneath them are giving them this information, or they're employing a consultant to give them that. what we wanted to do, what we wanted to achieve, is basically give them access to a culturally relevant individual that they like, or that they actually have some form of similarities with. So we basically started doing that. So we, starting with Top Jaw, they were the very first people that we got in a room with, and we, by getting Top Jaw, Jesse and Will, I don't know how we got them, to be honest, because I just sort of messaged them on my Instagram account, and they went, yeah, this maybe sounds like something we would do.
So you'll pay the influencer.
We'll pay the culturally relevant personality.
Yep.
Bearing in mind, we don't do any ads. We don't do any ads.
Yeah, no, it's just mad.
We do events.
Yeah.
That's all we do.
Yeah.
And we will pay them a fee. But for them, it's very important that they feel like they're not going into a B2B corporate environment as well. But, I say to Top Jaw, look, guys, like, we're in talks with AB and Bev at the moment. And, it'd be quite cool. I know that you've just done a Stella Artois thing with AB and Bev. We can get people in the room from AB and Bev. And they're like, yes, sick. And then I'm like, oh, we could get, Amex and BA in the room. And like someone from Amex came and they're like, oh, that's really cool. And so there's kind of like this symbiotic thing where the personality is getting something out of it, because they're not only getting paid, they're not getting paid loads, they're getting paid a bit, but we can also get the right type of people in the room. And then also we're getting those people in the room for us to be able to talk to. But what's interesting is I feel like the marketers are like, oh, actually, I love these individuals, these personalities. But actually, when Passionfruit talks to us about what they do, it makes sense. So actually, they're only 15-person, 20-person max talks, these. We're not trying to go big ball 60-person, 70-person events. We're trying to make them really intimate. And then you get, obviously this is an F&B podcast, right? This is where you major in. Like, you get people in the room within that space who then understand a bit more about Passionfruit. And so we started with Top Jaw. We did a great event with Grace Beverly.
So what with the Top Jaw, so you interviewing them or?
Yeah, I was interviewing them. So I'd never done interviews before, but I just, again, Rafi, who I kind of owe a lot to in this role at the moment, was just like, mate, I think that's your bread and butter, to be honest, with the interview. Like, I think you'll do a good job at that. I think the hard thing is getting people in the room. And like, it is hard getting people in the room. Like, anyone who's done events marketing, as you know, especially to big corporates and big enterprises, is hard. So, but I think the hook is Top Jaw. Like, these guys are smashing that space, or Grace Beverly is smashing the women's fashion design space and smashing like how you get more productive in your working day. We then did a run with the Hardest Geezer, where people that was like less about marketing. It was more about health and like, oh, do you just want to come on a run with the Hardest Geezer and understand more about what he does in his day-to-day to make sure that he becomes better, and maybe his personal resilience. And then people walked away from that being like, God, yeah, cool. Okay, I'm going to get up in the mornings more. And so it's not just about making them better marketers, so they go back to their teams and like, oh, I met with so-and-so today and this is what I found out. It's actually a lot more to do with them becoming better people. And I think what my last point on it is like, what we're trying to basically get across is, just like, it's these people are, at the end of the day, they go out on the weekends, these marketers, they love a pint, they play golf, they play cricket, I don't know, they play tennis, whatever. They're still people. And I think maybe LinkedIn has shadowed us into thinking that we need to be like this corporate person who, doesn't sort of let their guard down during the week. Yeah. I think we can do that, providing it's still relatively professional.
And that's exactly.
Sorry, I rambled on there.
No, it's gorgeous, and there's so much in that. Like, and it's interesting because we did. So a few things to kind of go off that. So the first thing, there's a great, I think it's an essay about Nike. Yeah. And what you're saying about keeping it small. No, it was about.
Yeah, it wouldn't have been Shoe Dog.
Yeah, but it was. But anyway, he's what they say in this essay. It's by Acquired. It's great. They say what Nike are trying to do. Bear in mind, they're one of the fucking biggest brands in the world.
Of course.
What their strategy is just to be. They pick 12 cities in the world. Yeah. And all they're trying to do is do these micro events. Yeah. With the most influential people. Yeah. That's their strategy. And he goes crazy. He goes, you think of a big. They're like ones LA, London, Tokyo, Seoul, like I don't know, some other fucking ones. And I was like, that's mad. It's like Nike, the biggest fucking brand in the world, their strategy is to pick 12 of the best cities and go, but micro, delicious events, a bit like what you guys are doing. It's like, okay, let's not do an event with 1,000 people. No. Let's get 20 people and get what do you call them? The spotlight, the cultural
Culturally relevant personalities
Yeah, exactly.
in one.
Yeah, CRPs.
CRPs could be that.
Yeah.
My boss would love that.
That'll make it very
Work on
corporate.
acronyms the whole time.
Yeah, can you put the CRPs in CRM?
CRPs into the ICPs and the B2Bs, mate.
Yeah. So, yeah, you need to see CRP.
Welcome to the world of B2B marketing, everyone.
Yeah, CRM. That's hilarious. But the But so that's something I'm trying to learn off you is actually with this Hooteroonie, I want to keep it boutique. Sort of the strapline is beautiful boutique festivals, and as I say, I've got enough people who I can get like kind of a headline 4 or 5 speakers.
Yeah.
Who will like that will shift the tickets, I think.
Yes.
But then I want to keep it fucking intimate. I want to almost keep it like your brand's got to be doing over 500,000 to even come. You know what I mean? I don't know. How have you found sort of shifting the tickets? Like how do you do that?
Yeah. Okay. I think on that, I think the most important thing for the people coming is giving them value.
Yeah.
But not like, of course, at the end of the day, like they know this, we're trying to sell them Passionfruit. But as I said, the product's good. I want to just give them the best experience. That's it from that event. We're not there selling them Passionfruit on the day. We're just like, look, I know because I've checked your LinkedIn out that you follow Strava and you follow, I don't know, the London Marathon. I know that you're the marketing director of X business. I think you're going to, I can assume, and that's basically what we do as marketers. We make assumptions on what we believe a buying persona is like. That's basically it.
Yeah.
And then we try and execute upon that. And, I can assume that you might have a great time here with the hardest geezer. But in order for them to feel important, and the reason why we're not going for brand managers or social media executives, as much as we love them, and these people in time will become those marketing directors, and we're doing other events to get those people involved now. Mm-hmm. They've got to feel like they're in the room with certain select types of people that they across different industries. This is not like just talking about one particular
Do you sell tickets or is it invite?
No, it's invite only. They're free. Everything's on the house from us at the moment. Yeah, it's costing a bit. No, I'm joking. But like, I won't get into the details on the metrics on like what we get out of it. But it's incredible in terms of like actually the marketing qualified leads we get out of an event and how much we put in there and sort of the cost per lead of that, and it's very good. And I used to work as a I used to do LinkedIn ads, I used to do Meta ads, and click-through rates are at 0.6% or like, do you know what I mean? Like the difference of we outreach to 200 people. We do.
No, that's all good. All
we
good.
Do that. We do that via personal outbound. So Henry Hayes, myself, I'm outbounding, but then we've got a very cold outbound specialist. Again, reason why Passionfruit is great is our marketing team is myself and Elsie. Luckily, because we're a marketing platform, everyone else in the room, sales team, commercial, supply team, also know a lot about marketing. But our marketing team, and Holly actually is our third marketer, and she's on supply. But we use our specialists. I was about to say leverage. I can't stand that word because everyone uses it. But like we just plug and play. We drink our own Kool-Aid. So I've got Ollie, great illustrator. People may have seen our like cool illustrations. Like he does that. We've got Jamie, graphic designer. We've got Jake Hampson, quite literally a cold outbound wizard. I don't know how this guy does that, but he outbounds and gets on Clay, which is an outreach tool, and then does sequences via Ample Market.
What does Clay do?
Clay basically finds you the right ideal customer profile for what you're trying to achieve, like marketing.
So I could say I was trying to sell sponsorship on the podcast. Could I use it for that?
Yeah, you could try and find the sponsorship manager, people who run sponsorship.
So I could basically go and say, right, I want Shopify.
Yeah,
they've got some
longer. Well, no, what you do is you'd be like, but again, and this is not like. I'm cautious of making this like really granular. What I'm trying to say is
granular to me is good.
Great.
Yeah.
Like we know that these select businesses from 100 mil to 1 bill who are suffering because the marketing, let's be honest, their marketing teams have been constrained post-COVID. There are more and more channels that they have to think about. TikTok, like fringe marketing's being played in fringe communities now. It's not just Google and Meta anymore. Put your stuff in Google and Meta, get out of it. Like you can create really good stuff out of other areas, be it events, be it other social channels, be it CRM, like nailing that. And so what what basically we do is we try and find those marketers who are struggling, and the way we do that is going on Clay and being like, right,
What is Clay?
it's like it basically scrapes the right type of profile. So I will basically say, right, business that goes between 100 mil and 1 bill, business that like marketing director profile, marketing lead, SVP of marketing, at a push senior brand manager, based in London. Yeah, not, and then in these industries, bang, 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 bang. And it will give me a list. And then I'll be like, okay, I think these are the right types of people. And then Jake, our outbound guy, will basically go, these are the people that are interested in the rugby pod. We just did an event with Jim Hamilton and Andy Good from the rugby podcast.
Yeah.
And we then profile these people because they may have posted on LinkedIn about the fact that they like rugby or something. And so then we outbound to them.
And what does the outbound look like?
Well, it's done via a tool called, I'm giving away the secret sauce here, everyone. But it's done via a tool called Ample Market. And Ample Market is basically like a sequencing tool. So HubSpot is used for sort of email marketing sequencing, which is when people are further down the funnel. But Ample Market's done more in sort of demand gen. There's loads of other tools like Ample Market. Ample Market is just the one we use because...
So it will say, hey, Pete, you're into rugby.
Yeah, I mean, what Ample Market...
Because there's a really delicious balance here between personalised and, again, almost back to that really micro niche, super personalised message.
Yes, exactly.
Versus like fucking spray and pray. Sounds a bit dodgy. But like...
This is what it's basically doing a lot better than other... And there's loads...
It's the nuance between the two.
Exactly.
Okay.
And the thing is with the advent of AI and all this stuff, like loads of people are telling you, oh, personalized cold outbound is becoming a big thing. And I agree, there are probably loads of stuff that's doing that. But what I disagree with and what I maintain is I spend 60% of my time just analyzing these people and being like, are they the right fit? And I'm not sending 1,000 messages out. We're sending 60. Because I'm like, I know this guy. And it comes down to the point of like, I'm not trying to be like seedy with these people. I'm just like, I just think you're going to love this event, mate. Like, I want to be at that event with you because I love What Will He Cook? Okay, I think he's a really funny guy. And you are the Pizza Pilgrim's marketing director. And I think you would love to be in a room with What Will He Cook? So I'm just going to outbound to the 60 people that I think are the right, because they're going to be like, oh, I'd love to meet What Will He Cook? Or we've done a thing with What Will He Cook before. Or Emily English, we did an event with Emily English. And it's like, you know, people who are within health and wellness space, or people who are within the food space who want to, or maybe they're just people who work in fintech or finance who just follow Emily, who are like, oh my God, I love Emily English. Yeah. And I think you just would get value out of this. That's the key thing. I'm like, the value is the most important thing. The platform is actually second. And I think maybe before, in all of my roles, I'm like thinking product first. I'm just thinking like trying to shift them an e-bike and be like, why won't they? But it's like, no, you need to give them something that they want first.
Yeah. It's super smart.
How to get your challenger brand into more supermarkets and increase your current distribution in half the time. Range reviews are happening right now, right this millisecond. Sainsbury's, Waitrose, Tesco, Ocado, Co-op, all looking for new banging challenger brands. Don't miss this range review and have to wait another 6 months. It's long. Don't lose precious shelf space to your competitors. Don't let your buyer pick another brand just because you didn't have a Grand Slam deck. Northstar Category Management help you create banging supermarket pitch decks so good that buyers find it impossible to say no to. Challenger brands like Perfect Ted, Trip, Bold Co, Dash all love Northstar. Look, I am so confident in Northstar transforming your brand. We've got an exclusive Hungry offer. Your first month for free. Yes, free. Plus, we're going to give you a free 30-minute consultancy session to see how your brand is currently performing in category. Click the link in the show notes to book your consultancy session and thank me later.
I am absolutely over the bloody moon that Big Fish, yes, Big Fish, the big dons of Challenger Food and Drink brand design. I mean, Perry is an absolute legend. He's designed every Challenger brand in your cupboard. Charlie Bigham's, Goo, Tyrrell's, Rana, Clipper Tea, the list is endless. And Big Fish are looking to speak to the next wave of Challenger Food and Drink brands who are a force for good. They're looking to invest in brands, and we've got this sick thing coming next year that you do not want to miss out on. If you want to speak to Big Fish, if you want to go to the Fish Bowl, drop me a DM and I can make it happen.
Super smart.
I think the outreach stuff's really interesting because I think.
Yeah, well, Jake deserves massive credit. He's one of our specialists about that. I basically just say, well, this is what we want to do. And he's like, yeah, sure, I'll go ahead and do it.
And then is he writing cold emails or is he...
So Elsie and I are writing the copy. And the copy is really important, to be fair. And what Ample Market will do, again, like a little niche thing, people may be watching this who know.
But sorry.
It will view your LinkedIn profile, but not send a connect request. Come back 2 days later. So you see... Henry Hayes has viewed your profile. And then 2 days later, Henry Hayes will view again. And then it will connect. So the individual will go like, oh, Henry's viewing my profile a bit. And you see, it's very, very advanced.
Yeah.
And then it will connect. As soon as they've then accepted the connect, it'll go out with the first outreach. And if they don't get back, it will go out a few days later. And then at the end, obviously, there'll be one more. And it's not like, sorry if I'm barking up the wrong tree here, mate. You know, all that stuff. Because I get these emails the whole time. I must get like 10 or 15 of them a day. And I'm just, they've got punctuation issues and they've spelt my name wrong, like Harry, on like people do at Starbucks, although Starbucks is a deliberate ploy. Well done them. And I'm just there like, oh, like, mate, you're trying to sell me something I don't need. Whereas, I don't know, like, if someone outbounded me, be like, mate, do you want to have a net with Jimmy Anderson? I'd be like, huh? Yeah, I'd love to have a net with Jimmy Anderson.
Yeah.
Anyway,
but also applying this through the lens of bringing your comedy and writing into work.
Yeah,
that's where, again, back to that edge. It's like if you're writing 20 minutes a day, and I think, I don't know who said it, but like copywriting is one of the most underrated skills. I think it's David Ogilvy says this.
Especially in the advent of AI.
Yeah.
It's become way more.
Yeah, well, because I write I sort of learned, because actually writing is thinking. So that's what Seth Godin says. He goes, your ability to write is not just
writing is thinking. Love that.
Yeah.
Could have been David Brent there, mate.
Yeah. Writing is thinking.
Good idea is a good idea forever.
Dan quipped.
Dan quipped.
He quipped that writing is thinking. I'll do that one. But yeah, and as you say, in the advent of AI, where it's like fucking iRobot shit's going on at the minute, and it's like I think it's really important. But what you were saying is it kind of links your morning routine and your comedy and your personality to your work, which I think is a really interesting sweet spot. In terms of the events, then, like, what's the art of putting on a great event? Like, what is location important? How do you select location?
I think like, I want to make it very clear, we're not even at the foot of Everest with it. I believe, like, I keep on bringing Rafi into this because he's so integral into this point. It's like, we started doing these events and they started doing okay, and then he was like, mate, when they found Dubai, it always sticks with me, this conversation. I had it with him in this room here. It was like, when they found Dubai, he was like, when they found Dubai, did they just go, oh, we found it, and then go to another place? No, they kept on digging. And it's like, how do we improve the events every day to make them better? So I think we're not there yet, but in terms of like what we're doing, it's a few things in terms of location. If you're doing it in the morning, if you're doing it in the evenings, that has to be next to a very central tube spot. You have to make it abundantly easy for these people to get there. We can't be doing it in a random location out somewhere. Like, hey, maybe if you're doing a fishing event, you want it by a river. Yeah. But like in London, you've got to make it really easy. Like, and we will sometimes geolocate where these businesses, the right type of profile business are, and they may congregate in West London, or they may congregate in Shoreditch.
How did you find that out?
We just Google them.
Google find out. Sorry, as in Google there where their office is?
Yeah.
Okay, sick.
I'd be like, all right, we're doing that there. And they'd be like, oh, that's only a minute away from my office. And I'm like, yeah, because I've spent an hour and a half like making sure that all of these right type of businesses are only like 2 minutes away from there. So it's really easy for you to get to. So that's number one. I think number two is...
What are some of the sick locations you've done in Central?
So we started off in Firmdale Hotels Group in Soho. That was really cool. That was like a bit bigger events, and they were sort of private screening rooms where we did with Top Jaw, and that was nice. And
they do grub there as well.
They do grub with canapes. And then Bread and Butter Collection in Shoreditch is awesome because it's really cool. That's for a bit more like funky, cool events. So like What Willie Cook, we're doing one with Bradley Zero, the DJ, was one of the original members of the Boiler Room, founder of Rhythm Section. And we've got a party with him afterwards. We're doing 150 person only, invite only party for our Christmas party with Bradley Zero.
Sick.
20 heads of marketing go to the talk, and then they get to invite their team to the party, which is cool.
That is very clever.
Yeah, and then so that's like bringing the youth up again. But other places, the Boathouse in Paddington, which is a barge. Like Elsie spends loads of time like scouting venues, and then we're like, oof, $4,000 for that space. Are you having a laugh? Like, that's so much. And then we get just the deeper and deeper we go into it, like, oh my God, this place, the barge, it's a barge and the Boathouse in Paddington Basin. It's so cool, and it's costs a fraction of the price, and yet they give such good value. And then we do a supper club with Emily English there, and so people are like on a barge in the middle of October, being like, "Oh my God, Emily!" And to be fair to Emily English, I can't get over this girl's work rate. Like, I say this girl, she's like 1.5 million followers. Like,
who's that? Emily English is the
Emily the nutritionist. Like, I'm astounded. She put on a 12-person dinner. She made all of the food the day before. She did a chicken and lasagna. Chicken and tarragon lasagna.
Okay, yeah.
And then she made it all the day before. She got Le Creuset involved, she was like, oh, should we get Le Creuset involved? I'm like, yeah, sure, unbelievable. She then did unreal starters with burrata. There was a vegan there. She made a vegan dish. She genuinely cooked for 12 people. And we had like the CMO of PepsiCo Canada, who didn't fly over for that particular event, but was in the UK at that moment. She came.
Chicken, that's a big sell.
Like the marketing director of Blank Street. I'm trying to think of other people within your remit. Marketing leads at Little Moons, people there, and they're there. I hope they left that, and we know because we've managed to get a bit of business out of it. But I hope they left there, and I'm just seeing M English there, just bloody working away, like putting lasagnas on plates for people, and I'm like, whoa! Like, I think people really. And again, I don't know why I'm sounding like I know stuff at the moment. I really don't. Like, I want to make that abundantly clear. I'm really working on that. But I think people underestimate the like, if you put blood, sweat and tears on the table for people, they acknowledge that and they go, I know that you've worked really hard to put on such an event like this. And it's not necessarily the money. It's like just the little intricacies.
The brand depth.
Of like,
yeah.
And so one thing we've done with pre-event comms now is we set up a WhatsApp group, and with the WhatsApp group, we ask our talent very politely to do a live video to people beforehand. So only those people get access to the video, but it ensures they come because, you know, with these events,
so it'll be like a blanket one, like saying, "Hey, it's Top Jaw."
Exactly. Yeah. So it didn't happen when Top Jaw there, but for M English, she's there at her home where she does all of her cooking stuff, and she's there like, "Hi everyone, just want to say I'm really looking forward to tomorrow's event that we've got with Passionfruit. I'm making a chicken and tarragon lasagna.
Sick.
Really want you there." And that goes in a WhatsApp group.
Yeah.
And then what we then get, we send like a deck which has information around the night. I'll show it to you afterwards, and it has like insights on the industry, which again come from our specialists, but we brand it, and then what we get to be able to do at the lastminute.com before the event or even after the event is just go, what are your current marketing constraints? Because what a lot of people maybe outside don't get at the moment, a lot of my mates are asking about is like, how does getting M English in a room equate to what you guys do? And it's like, well, we say at our events, treat M English, treat What Will He Cook, treat Hannah Whittam, we just did a YouTube content clip with her, treat them as your specialists on that chosen area for the night. And so there's hopefully a subconscious element when people go back of freelance marketing platform, I just got access into like a specialist area for an evening, and it marries up a bit. And we need to work on that a lot more. I believe that we're nowhere near as good as we can be on that.
Almost reverse engineering it.
A bit. But we do polls on WhatsApp like, three things. I'm way too overstretched at the moment. I've got no idea about, I don't know, Substack, if I'm a B2B platform.
Yeah.
And people click on it and you're like, oh, that's good. At least they know now that we're trying to help them as much as we are just trying to put on a great event for people.
Yeah, it's
So I've really given
No,
but
I love it's fascinating for
goes from ways from being funny and serious, this, doesn't it?
Oh yeah, that's how I kind of operate.
My first podcast, but
that's the way my brain operates as well.
Fine.
And I think what you were saying about all those little things are so important. It's like, for example, we're doing the big Hungry Big Crimbo Do.
I love the names of these.
Yeah.
Hungry Big Crimbo Do.
Yeah, but that's the whole point. It's like,
good.
Yeah, that's what I wanted. And then the Hootaroony's going to be jokes, mate. I'll get you to fucking do something there.
The Hootaroony.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's a bit like a but we're doing it in the Camberwell Arms. I don't know if you've ever eaten at the Camberwell Arms.
Yeah.
Fuck, it's honestly one of my favourite favourite restaurants and pubs. And Mike, the founder's been on the podcast. He actually
great.
He was sick. He had like a proper mental breakdown. Not a proper mental breakdown. I think all mental breakdowns are kind of proper.
Yeah.
But he And he was super open. He was basically saying that he felt like he was on a fucking anxiety acid trip the whole time. Sure. And loads of people messaged me after that podcast being like, mate, what he was so open. I think it helped a lot of people.
Oh, nice. That's great.
But I love it. But to your point, I'm like, oh, fuck me. Like I should have done it in Central. But then in Central, I tried to do one at, what's that place, Carousel? And they were like, oh, you can rent our room out, but it's gonna be like $2,000. And also, you can't say Carousel. You've got to say you're doing it at our other room.
Yeah, funny enough, we had a great event at Carousel last week.
That's right.
They're brilliant.
Oh, really?
We love them, yeah.
Yeah.
What I would say, though, about your events is, like, because they're within F&B and whatever, like, I know the world of F&B a bit now because of my previous job with Ed, but I think there's such a lovely energy within that industry.
It is actually a bit easier.
It's infectious, and you're not dealing with fintech businesses or with corporates or with big enterprise like FMC, big FMCG.
Yeah, well, they wouldn't be able to come anyway.
Like, yeah, but you know,
the PepsiCo police are going to be on the
yeah,
ball, mate.
exactly. But I think you know, you could do it in really cool, like Bread and Butter Collection in Shoreditch, unreal place to do it, I think. And you know, I will give them a shout out because I think they're really cool. Or you could, I know that, you know, what Willie Cook is doing his Willy Wonderland or something. He's doing that in Walthamstow at a brewery. I think people will travel for it for you specifically because of the vertical that you are within is very specific. With us, you know, I know that this is an F&B podcast and we get F&B, we work with F&B companies like AB InBev, PepsiCo, Mars, as well as like scale-ups as well. But we're just trying to get marketers in a room cross-industry. Like, our big problem we've got is telling the marketers that, like, some marketers get back to us. We've got an event with Molly McCann, Meatball Molly, you know, the UFC fighter?
Yeah.
We're doing an event, Elsie is running it, she's going up to Liverpool next week to do that. And some marketers have got back and been like, I'm not in UFC. Like, I'm not in this world of sports marketing. We're like, that doesn't matter. Like, we just want to give you a good night. Like, we know that you like the UFC, but I think there's a breaking down the barrier.
So I think on a sorry to interrupt, but I think on a massive level, like all this digitization, all this everything moving online, all the AI, is like, as a human species, everything's become so atomized, like fucking Hinge dating apps, like everything's gone, and I think there's a real pining for genuine, just small connection with like-minded people. I think that is, like, I believe everything balances out. I think everything balances out. Like, I think you
need both.
I think the reason meditation has become so prominent is because social media got so fucking big. I mean, this is quite spiritual, but I believe everything balances out. Fine. But
spirit,
yeah. Namaste, motherfucker. But you know, in social media, everyone was just got so fucking absorbed into like their status as likes and stuff, and it's like you get the bloke who's did Headspace is like, you know, just have a biscuit, relax, you know. But in the B2B landscape, everything's got so like we can just do everything on LinkedIn. It's like, whoa, people actually want these small events. Mate, this has been super helpful. But let's talk about your reading, because I know we sort of bounced around. There's like, I love reading. It's my favorite fucking thing to do. And what are some of the books that have really sort of got me
going?
Got you going. Changed your worldview, because I think another one of your to really pull this out of you, your edge, I think, is noticing things that other people don't notice, whether that's through comedy, whether that's through the marketing, the way you're doing marketing at Passionfruit.
Yeah.
You almost have an ability, and especially with the stereotypes of different London, you almost sit back, observe, and then go. And it's like with the marketing, it's like, right, okay, so this is what Willie cooks. Like, sit back, observe, let's get some fuckers on a barge to have a tarragon curry or lasagna.
Tarragon curry would be interesting.
Yeah. That would be well weird.
Yeah, it would be well.
But I think a part of that, and if I'm to link, so that's almost like block one is noticing, observing.
Yeah.
With comedy.
Yeah.
With marketing.
Yeah.
Then I also think reading is. Yeah. Why I fucking love reading. I interviewed a great guy called Jack Rubin. Mm-hmm. Built a massive 0 to 60 million D2C soap business. I don't know why I'm doing that, but like, not soap business. He's going to lambast me for that. It's a Purdy and Fig. It's refill.
Great.
home, but like, you know,
Yeah,
shit you wipe.
Domestic
shit. Yeah. Super smart guy. And one of the things he said to me is, he goes, it's one of the most underrated things a founder can do is just sit in the office at the end of the day, just pick a book up. Because it gives me just some space. I feel like when you open a book, it gives you altitude. It gives you time to actually sit back and observe what's going on in the business.
Yeah.
So it swaps your mind off from fucking Slack.
Yes.
But two, when he said this, the sort of the third order consequence of doing this is it imparts to the team that he wants them to be curious.
Yes.
And he believes that, I believe this curiosity is a superpower in organizations, because curiosity is the birthplace of creativity.
Yeah, and creativity is intelligence having fun, as Einstein has famously said.
Yeah, exactly. And but yeah, on that note, like, what are some of the stuff that you read that helps you notice things that no one else sees?
Great question. I think, firstly, thanks a lot for your lovely remarks there. Again, like I say, mad that I'm in this position talking like that. So thank you. I think there's reading for pleasure, and there's reading to pick something up. And I suppose what I love doing is exactly that, like being able to elevate yourself above where you are, and just like, I find when I read, my mind can go into other places, and like, obviously because you're reading a book, you need to use your imagination. Whereas I do content on Instagram the whole time. Like, this stuff just gets fed to you. Dopamine hit, dopamine hit, dopamine hit. And in reading, you don't have that. And it really lets your mind explore, which is why I love doing it so much, because it really allows me to do that. In terms of the books themselves, I mean, you know, I got fascinated with the first book I ever read was like Stephen King, The Long Walk, properly. When I was like 8, 9, my teacher gave it to me, and I just found it like a fascinating book. I'm not a big Stephen King fan, actually, at all, but that just got me involved.
He writes quite simply, doesn't it?
Writes quite simply, but it got me into
Yeah.
reading. I was like infatuated with this book. And then, you know, I ended up doing English at A level, and I was big into acting, and I really got into Shakespeare. I know Shakespeare's like a real Marmite thing, and people are like, oh, fuck off, mate, talking about Shakespeare. Like, I loved it. I got really into it. And it's because I think I had a good teacher, and then when I went to uni, I spent my entire last year at uni, third year, we just did Shakespeare. We weren't allowed to do it in first year or second year. We just did it last year. So, like, Macbeth is probably my favourite Shakespeare play. People are like, oh yeah, that's one of the most well-known ones. Like, give us something else. But like, I just come back to it the whole time, as well as Henry IV parts 1 and 2.
Wasn't Shakespeare sort of? I read a book which I highly recommend, called The 7 Basic Plots, which is all about storytelling.
Yeah, and how they all come from Shakespeare.
Yeah, how they all come from Shakespeare. Yeah. So you've got like rags to riches, slaying the monster.
But they come also from, like, you know, I did a lot on Renaissance drama, and they come from sort of Christopher Marlowe and Robert Greene as well. They were like the university wits, is what they called them, like the academics that went to Oxbridge.
Yeah.
But Shakespeare didn't. Shakespeare was just a grammar school boy who grew up in...
But didn't he sort of create because what I think from this book is he created the complexity of comedy. But this guy goes through these plots, and he basically says, like, the reason comedy works is out of all the 7 plots, it's the most complex.
Yes, exactly.
And he goes, there's upper worlds and underworlds. And so in The Office, for example, you've got David Brent, who's at the, you know, they've got the upstairs, and they've got the blue collar workers downstairs. That's the reation that works.
You look at Midsummer Night's Dream as well.
Yeah. So what's Macbeth taught you about comedy?
Well, Macbeth is a tragedy. So it's actually very different.
Yeah. Unless you're some sadistic
I mean,
fuck.
you could argue that the witches in Macbeth, they're like, what's so smart about Shakespeare, and like I always use this reference, is he wrote an iambic pentameter, so da-dun, 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 everything in sort of prose, but in verse, sorry. And then, but to use Macbeth as in, like, the witches can be used in a comedic sense, and they are in reverse iambic. So when shall we three meet again? So ba bam, ba bam, ba bam, and that like that's the very first scene in Macbeth. And what's fascinating is, if you were sort of at the Globe, I get really in on this. So, like,
mate, yeah.
People may be like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? I get really in on it.
Yeah.
Like, if you're at the Globe and you're like a person who's having a little orange off a prostitute, because that's what happens. Like, the prostitutes used to come around in the stalls.
What, today?
Like, no, back in the day.
I'm joking, mate.
But like, they would be there, and they'd be running around, they'd be like seedy in the cesspit in the Globe, and like, you know, William Shakespeare just put on a new play. Macbeth was one of his later plays. you know, and you're used to da-dum, 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 and it just starting like that, or being, you know, sometimes like a really good prologue from like the chorus to begin. But if I'm there as a bloody guy with a gammy tooth and a bit of mead, and I'm getting a little, and then all of a sudden something comes on where it goes ba-bum, 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 when shall we three meet again? And thunder, lightning, oil and rain, when the hurly-burly's done. I could go on.
Yeah.
When the battle's lost and won. You're there like, fuck me. And it is literally the early modern, the Renaissance version of us, I don't know, like watching Luther or watching something at home where you're like, bang, and you're like, whoa. And that, as much as it may not excite people, like what you realize is just an innovation of how things could be written. And he just
it's great. In terms of marketing, it's a hook.
It's a hook. Exactly that. It's a hook. And so I'm not saying I'm reading loads of Shakespeare now. I'm really not. What I'm saying is like that's grounded me in understanding like the literary basis of other work that comes after it. And like I went to see an unreal stand-up last night. He was called John. I think it's called John Tiddle. I can't remember his last name.
Whereabouts was it?
It was in Soho Theatre. And this kid, oh my God, like he's a couple of years below me, went to Cambridge, went to Footlights. Like he's quite sort of this camp guy, lived in East London, but he's a teacher. And he just rolled off some incredibly great, like philosophical stuff and like almost like, why are we here? But using comment, and he resonated so much with everyone. He was bringing in like Faustus and stuff like that, like Dr. Faustus from Marlowe and all this. And I'm there like, oh my God. But I also believe that a lot of people in that room who maybe didn't have like an English education, like I did English at uni, would still have been like, this is incredible.
Yeah.
And so what I believe the Shakespeare did is basically ground me in that, so I have an appreciation of other work. So that's number one.
What other stuff did Shakespeare maybe teach you that is actually kind of relevant to marketing?
I mean, there's probably like loads, to be honest. I suppose like from a comedy angle, like being, I'm trying to think of an example.
What's his famous comedy?
I'd probably say A Midsummer Night's Dream, to be honest. 12th Night. I mean, I love the history plays, which had a lot of comedy in it. I mean, like Henry V, which has Prince Hal. I did my dissertation on Henry IV parts 1 and 2,
What's I mean? I don't know much about Shakespeare.
No worries.
What's Henry IV about?
Okay, so Henry IV parts 1 and 2 is about basically the maturing.
Was there a 3 and 4?
Sorry, no.
Yeah.
Henry. Sorry, for context.
It's like King Kong, mate.
Henry V is the big history play that everyone knows. Kenneth Branagh, aka looks like Claire Balding. He's there, he did the big film, Henry V. Timothy Chalamet's done it on Netflix. That's sort of, the tennis balls speech, or cry for Harry, St. England and St. George, all this stuff. I can't remember the lines exactly, but that's the big one that everyone knows, Henry V. And it's all about Agincourt. But there is Henry IV parts 1 and Henry IV parts 2, which aren't as good a play as Henry V, but it's all about Prince Hal and Falstaff. Now,
What? Prince Hal?
Prince Hal before he became Henry V.
Prince Hal?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, sorry, yeah.
About Henry V before he became king.
Yeah.
Sorry, I should make that clear. Henry IV before he became king. And he has an unreal relationship with this comedic character called Falstaff. Now, Falstaff was Henry V when he was Prince Hal. He was basically his, not bodyguard, but he was basically his chaperone. He was his, guy leader. Okay, not leader, but the guy who looked after him. Now, they used to get pissed in Cheapside and shag and drink and be merry, and Prince Hal was basically looked down upon by Henry IV Bolingbroke. Henry IV hated his son, and knowing that he was going to become king, and because he used to hang out with Falstaff. And so the reason why I love Henry IV parts 1 and 2 is it has all the comedy of Prince Hal knocking around in Cheapside, and you can put correlations between Prince Hal and Harry. Like Harry back in the day, Prince Harry, going out and sneaking nightclubs or going to a secret garden party, being loved, and then the maturing of how he becomes an adult. And I think whether there's something in there within marketing, there probably is, of I don't know. Yeah, I probably can't give you that now.
Yeah, so from my perspective, it's like the complexity of the reason. I think
the complexity of the humour. Exactly.
The complexity of the humour and the human being. And also it's like,
yeah, well done. You're
as
analysing it than I am.
No, but and also linking this to marketing is, Seth Godin talks a lot about psychographic versus demographic.
I love that pod, by the way.
Yeah,
It was awesome.
Oh, cheers, mate.
Yeah.
But demographic is like, right, let's go and target people who are 30 to 25 to 35 and they live in London. That is so reductionist. Psychographic goes more into the complexity of the human being, which is what you're saying, which is like, okay, and this is what you guys are doing at
Passionfruit.
I was about to say pineapple, but the is you're looking, okay, there's a complexity to the human beings. Like, what are they into? They're into nutrition, okay,
Yes.
but they could actually be interested in a barge, not interested in a barge. It sounds, but it's the complexity of the human being, and I think in marketing it's so reductionist just to look at it the demographic, but in real life it's the complexity of the human being, and that's why I do this podcast. Is there's so many layers to humans.
Yes.
And actually, I think the reason we're both probably quite addicted to The Office, but it's just. And actually, Ricky Gervais, do you see that post he put the other day?
Yeah.
He goes, I got fired at 37.
Yeah, I know,
He was at rock bottom at 37, mate. And it's like, that shows, find your edge whenever the fuck you want to find it.
But I think, and to move Shakespeare into the stuff that I like watch, like, it all comes.
So I don't think people quite...
it all comes back
to Shakespeare. I didn't understand this.
It really does.
Yeah, but so just to give me some context. Sorry to interrupt, because I'm just... I didn't realise this till I read this 7 Basic Plots.
Yes.
It's how, like music, like so much music, if you actually listen to it, is the Beatles. Well, come back.
Right.
So like Beatles have got Beatles have got a song which basically created the death metal, and it's a song, I don't know what the fuck it's called, and it's like they literally Paul McCartney talks about it with Rick Rubin. He just goes, I turned the thing up and went ding.
Yeah, but like...
But that's the same with Shakespeare, right?
To use an example, like Romeo and Juliet, right?
Yeah.
Like, everyone's into Batman, okay? At the moment, the Penguin's out on HBO and I can't remember what it is, Now TV. Watch it. It's unreal. Colin Farrell plays the Penguin. He's in prosthetics. It's brilliant. And it's all about the mafia underworld of Gotham, basically. But
is this actually right now?
Right now on Penguin. But I watched the Penguin and I'm like, it's Romeo and Juliet. You got the Montagues, you got the Capulets, you got all the mafiosa families. Yes, there's a love story in the middle there between two star-crossed lovers that cannot meet and cannot be in love. But actually surrounding it is a mafia underplay that's being played around. And so like that's just one example of something that, Shakespeare's done. So yeah, I think, or like, Hamlet, the existential crisis of, if we're getting really wacky off the wall, With Nell and I, one of my favourite comedies of all time.
With
Nell and I. Yeah, With Nell and I?
No.
Okay,
no.
You need to watch it. It's brilliant.
Yeah.
But it's all about this guy who is an actor in London and he's struggling. And Richard E. Grant plays Withnail and this other guy plays I. I don't know why I'm talking about this, but like Hamlet and like the existential crisis of man. Who am I? Why am I like this? And you see this in comedy. You see Tim from The Office. What the fuck am I doing with my life? Like me, now, maybe a year ago, what the fuck am I doing with my life? Like, who am I? Why am I trying to be? That's Hamlet. Hamlet is basically that man who, like, okay, Mark Corrigan, okay? Who am I? Like, why is Mark Corrigan, and why is Mark so funny? Why is Jeremy so funny? Because ultimately, they've got internal monologues in their head, and why Peep Show is brilliant is because Peep Show finally gave men a voice. Jesus Christ, obviously not. Like, women have suffered not having a voice for years, but it gave men an internal monologue. Beforehand, I think people maybe thought men just acted and they just did things. But what Peep Show did so brilliantly was gave an internal voice in a comedic lens to a person. So on the outside you don't know, and Hamlet is that. It's like Hamlet is through his monologues, of which there are many in that play, talks outwardly to the audience about like how he's suffering. Now, to bring the comedy into it, I think that kind of like resonates quite nicely with like Peep Show or whatever. So yeah, that's given me like a good grounding. I think like in terms of comedy, like I could go a tiny bit more into books, but
just what are some like? But on that note about how stuff plays out into today, there's a really interesting guy called Matt Ridley who wrote The Rational Optimist. Fucking super interesting guy.
Fun.
And he was talking about how and this 7 Basic Plots all links back to this, and it's it kind of goes into Joseph Campbell's The Hero's Journey, which yeah. And he basically says that the whole point of Joseph Campbell's book is it's all about why we almost need to become our own hero in our own journey.
Yeah.
And he says what we've done today is we've looked at these entrepreneurs like your Elon Musk, Steve Jobs, and we've levitated them to the sort of status of God or like godlike figures.
Yeah.
But actually, if you actually boil it away, and what Matt Ridley says, if you actually just boil it all away, all they were was just relentless, determined tinkerers. You know what you said, we're at the bottom of our Everest. It's like we're just going to tinker. But then what we've and all these a bit like comedy. You know, you read Walter Isaacson's Steve Jobs book. That guy was fucking so complicated.
Yeah.
You're raising him to a level of a god. He was fucked, mate. He was completely fucked. Elon Musk said on Joe Rogan the other day, he goes, "You do not want to be in my head."
No,
because I'm mental. But what Matt Ridley is saying is we've raised these people to this almost in today's world. We don't have gods. We don't have those sort of religious sort of icons, you know. So we've now have these people in media. I suppose celebrities another sort of facet of that, and reason it's, you know, people want that sort of that godlike.
They're struggling for that like mentorship. So yeah, I mean it's fascinating.
It's so
I like. In terms of like people that I look up to within the comedy space, like, you know, you reached out to me because I read David Mitchell's Unruly, which I thought was brilliant.
Yeah. What's that?
So basically, the history of kings and queens of England.
Yeah.
From sort of like the Romantic period through to Renaissance. So Elizabeth I was his last chapter. But the reason why I loved it so much was not necessarily, I didn't necessarily input all the information about the kings and queens. It's really hard to, because every page is a new bloody king or queen and you're like, ugh. It's more like how he brought it into current affairs and how he just made it really
such as?
Oh, God, comparing the way that like Cromwell was nibbering at the kings and at the court to slack or something. Do you know what I mean? Like just being like how there's communication. Do you know what I mean? You're there like, oh my God, that's really funny.
Yeah.
Now, you know, that, like I look up to people like that, and they, I think like I've always looked up to Ricky. Stephen Merchant, I'm a massive fan of. Stephen did my, I say Stephen like I knew him. I don't. I bloody wish I would. He did my course at uni, so he did English and Theatre Studies at Warwick. Ruth Jones did English and Theatre Studies at Warwick. And so like I had this, like when I was at uni, I was like, oh my God, if I could just be Stephen Merchant, be Ruth Jones. Like these are two like incredible personas.
Ruth Jones is Gavin and Stacey.
Gavin and Stacey, yeah.
James Corden just started following Hungry.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. See if the geezer wants to go for a curry or something.
Hooter, whatever it is. I think, so that there, I think I'd look up to those two. And then obviously like Steve Coogan, Partridge. I mean, like I think all of Partridge is great, but Tim Key in Partridge, like Mid-Morning Matters, I think it's This Morning. I'm obsessed with Tim Key. He just does incredible like poems. He's just a funny.
Tim Key is
a psychic Simon in Mid-Morning Matters with Partridge, and like he basically plays. So he's first introduced to Partridge as the sidekick to Partridge on the Radio Show. They're there with Radio Norfolk Digital.
Oh, is he the guy who?
Okay,
yes. I know.
The scene where they talk.
When he says I know exactly.
The scene where they talk about what kings would have what car. It's the best.
Yeah.
And they talk about Cromwell, who obviously wasn't a king, but they talk about how the fact he wasn't flashy, and he'd have a Volkswagen, but it would be like a GTI because it'd be turbo, and he'd have his like full case of me with him, and they're like laughing about it. Anyway, so those guys, and then like and there's loads of other like British comedy, like Pete versus Life I was really into. Not many people know that. It didn't get commissioned for a third series, but that had Rafe Spall in it. And then don't know the actor's name, but How Not to Live Your Life with Donald Danbury. That's way back when. And then into sort of.
Do you ever watch The Fast Show?
I love The Fast. I mean, Paul Whitehouse is like, I think there are the kings of the UK, bar none. Are Enfield and Whitehouse.
Yeah.
You can't touch them because if you try, they come back at you. They did a Question Time sketch, which for me it came true. Like. They did a Question Time sketch about 6 years ago, and they impersonated Jimmy Carr in it, and they're like sort of, and finally comedian who wants to take himself seriously, Jimmy Gag, and they're just dressed up like Jimmy Carr. Harry Enfield went anal sex, but genuinely fast forward 5 years, and there is an audience member who is genuinely making like complete gobbledygook up, and was basically the point, was just really nervous people in the audience trying to make a really just outlandish point for public effect. And what they did, and to see it come into fruition. That's just one of many examples with White House and Enfield. But Harry and Paul, I loved. I mean, like, some of it now would be a bit cancelled, if I'm being honest. Like, I think, as well as Little Britain. I mean, Little Britain, like, I can't believe Little Britain got away with what they did, considering, you've got to remember, like, the production behind what they were doing. Was some of it funny? Of course it was. But, like, some of it was really close to the bone. And how that went out on BBC, I don't know. And Harry and Paul, like, I think just trumps a lot. And so the Far Show, yes, like Swiss Tony and stuff like that is brilliant. Suits You, Sir, and stuff like that I loved. And Jethro, I don't know if you know much about Jethro, but he was a Cornish, oh my God, he's very un-PC Cornish stand-up from the 70s and the 80s, the likes of which you could find on Google, find on YouTube, but you wouldn't want to talk about now. He would be cancelled. But he was a dirty Cornish lad who was funny. And then into sort of like, you know, obviously loads of comedians talk about like Stuart Lee being brilliant. Like, you know, he is brilliant. I think Stuart Lee's incredible. I think Peter Kay, like, funnily enough, loads of my mates who I grew up with at school like didn't know anything about Peter Kay, and I'm like, what do you mean? How? Like, I used to have emergency chairs around my nan's, like on a Sunday roast, and I'd be up here eating, someone would be down there, and I think Peter Kay, I think, was brilliant observational comedian. He's obviously massive, Peter Kay, but there's so many that I could reel off, and I think like the last one is in America. I don't know if have you seen Eastbound and Down?
Yeah, mate, fuck me, I watched that at uni. What's it, Kevin McBride?
I use it as a litmus test for people.
What's like, the main character in?
People haven't seen Eastbound and Down. If I'm talking comedy and sitcoms, stuff like that, and I say, "Oh, you seen Eastbound and Down?" and they're like, "No," I'm like,
"Yeah." Is it?
I'm like, "What?"
Will Ferrell's Asher Shaker BMW.
Yeah, Asher Shaker BMW. Asher Shaker BMW. Woo! And then Danny McBride. Danny McBride is Kenny Powers. Like,
Kenny Powers. That's it. Yeah.
Kenny Powers is. The Prometheus, like, to talk about Prometheus, talk about like an overreacher.
The thing that's coming
and he is there, like, I cannot get over how funny it is. Like, a failed baseball star who's been smacking up on loads of different drugs and alcohol, who is trying to get back on top, but he becomes a substitute PE teacher at a junior school. That's the start of it. You're like, oh my God, I'm in.
Best is when he goes to there's two scenes that are coming to mind. Is the one when he takes like a load of pills and then goes to the kids' disco at the school, which is
and he's doing it on.
And then the other one when it's all in slow mo and he's on his jet ski. You know, he's got his fucking jet ski.
The jet ski. That jet ski is not a toy. And it is. But basically, like, it's very X-rated stuff. But Danny McBride playing Kenny Powers, Ashley Schaefer there, and they've got like Stevie Janowski, his like little sidekick.
Yeah.
And I don't really veer too far away from all of that stuff. The only other stuff I really love and would love just to tell, I suppose, is I think Tom Staunton doing High Renaissance Man on YouTube. For me, I watched that back the whole time. And I also think Finn Taylor. There's like a couple of comedians I love. Paddy Young, who we're doing an event with in Manchester next week. Like, I saw this guy do stand-up a year ago, and like, this guy is like up here, I think. Like, I'm definitely a piece of shit on his shoe. Like, I'm not a comedian, I'm a content creator, but I look up to this guy. And he's not that big.
Would you do stand-up?
In time, yeah, I'd love to do stand-up.
Yeah.
In time. I don't really have the capacity for it yet, but I want to do it and do it really well. I want to dedicate time on it. Him and Finn Taylor. I don't know if you know much about Finn Taylor.
Is Finn Taylor, has he got the YouTube?
Finn versus the internet.
Oh,
like,
mate.
This guy.
I've just been in Lisbon. Yeah, I've just been in Lisbon, and we were watching it, and he's got when the guy comes in, he's in the background, and he's ragging the blow-up doll, and he has his
stepson. In the later series, it's his stepson, who's basically just a full-grown man who does this stuff. But he writes with Horatio Gould. I've never met these guys.
Is Finn Taylor? When you say Finn versus the internet, because they've had Top Drawer on, hasn't he?
Yeah, for sure. They've had What Will He Cook? They've had like the one.
But so is his?
They've had Big Bumberclad. Daniel want to give me head. That guy.
Yeah.
That guy.
And what they do?
The Olive Sheppy guy. He's I'm not going to say that.
But the. So is his actual name Finn Taylor?
I think so. And like,
or is it Finn?
I've genuinely gone down a rabbit hole with Finn Taylor because I find he like borderlines cancel culture. He does it so well. And obviously, like him, he writes this guy called Horatio Gould. Again, I've never met them. And Paddy Young occasionally writes with them. But they this is like, they're like the traditionalists that he's done stand-up all his life. Finn Taylor's probably like 40, I think. He's got like kids and stuff. But there's just, what I'm really conscious about with my comedy, and I know it, is like, there are hundreds of thousands of us white lads, like from the UK, doing little 40-second clips. And hopefully mine's okay, and hopefully people find it funny. Do I think it could get a lot funnier? 100%. Like, I'm doing this gentrified thing around London at the moment because I'm basically going to write a book, and the book's going to be You Now Live in London, and it's going to be like social stereotypes of people in that. That's why I'm doing it. I'm doing it to write a book. But when I've done that, I want to do like a lot more character-based stuff, kind of trigger-happy TV style. But I think these guys like Finn Taylor, Horatio Gould, there's like the Paddy Youngs, the guy I saw last night. I look at these guys and genuinely they may not have as big a following as I've got. I find it hilarious. Like, I've got 35,000 followers on Instagram. And yet, like, these guys who are really unreal, maybe have the same. I think Finn Taylor's got a lot bigger profile than I am, rightly so. But they're proper comedians doing proper good work. And I just aspire one day to be able to do the stuff that they're doing. Yeah. And they may look at the stuff I'm doing like, oh my God, this guy's fucking wind-up merchant. And like, what the hell? And maybe the same with other content creators in the space that are just like, maybe, I think there is a, similar to, you know, an author or writing plays or writing comedy in TV, there's the same thing with stand-up as against online content creators.
Oh, but
I
also
think in terms of the purist
of it. But as Ricky Gervais says, and he says, I became a true stand-up when true comedian when he started doing stand-up. So even though he did the fucking...
I would not say I'm a comedian.
Yeah, but he did The Office. He did the fucking Office, which I think categorically, unequivocally, is the best thing. And actually rewatching stuff's really good. Like, you know, like, it's just rewatching it.
12 episodes.
It's getting fun. Yeah. I mean, I was just gorging it, like, when I'm hungover to going through digestive biscuits. You know what I mean? Just fucking nail it.
Yeah.
But it's fucking brilliant.
I think the difficulty with The Office, and you see it in so much online stuff, and I think it's why a lot of purist comedians can't, like, everyone loves The Office, like, not a single person doesn't. But what's difficult is you see me being a bit Brent in some of my videos, and it annoys me sometimes because I'm like, David Brent, like the character, brought with it a new genre of comedy, which is that awkward, like, individual.
But
it's great, but like, I think I want to be very conscious going forward of not just like, I like using it sometimes, and I think a lot of people resonate with it, but it would be I think it's class to bring your own identity into things
which
as
you
well.
will eventually get, I think.
I think so.
But
I think I'm just at the start of my journey with that.
Seeper from People Just Do Nothing. He basically said the whole show
Seeper,
was just built on David Brent, and he kind of fucking owned it. And it's like
he owned it,
and he sort of owned it. And I think
what I love about Seeper is I actually did it never got aired, but I did like a e-bike video with him where Chase cadets, they shot around London on e-bikes and like got in touch with them. So I had a whole day with them, and just off camera, how funny he was.
Yeah.
I was just like, this guy's so funny. It was very Brent-like, but I couldn't stop laughing at how funny he was as a bloke. I was like, and what's so cool is I've just released, I've got this character now that I'm trying to develop called Hella Crep Henners. He's like this Soho.
These fucking jokes.
And like,
and it's like, mate, but all those people, like, I would go into... I just think Soho House is just a ghastly, monstrous place, and it's like the status signalling in that place is
terrible.
Just fucking. My mate's got membership, and we'll occasionally go in.
Yeah,
and I just can't stand it. And also, I got invited. I did a talk at this members club called Pavilion.
Oh yeah, I know.
Gave me membership. It gave me a membership, and I haven't used it. I'm like, I went in.
Quite swanky, mate.
Yeah, quite swanky. I was like, I don't.
Free coffees there.
Yeah. I'll take these little. I get my fucking macchiato there.
Yeah, you will. Yeah.
I was just like, the thought of like, and it's lovely, but I just thought there's just too many twats here. I was like, it's just too.
Well, that's kind of bringing on to like my comedy in a nutshell is, I really acknowledge. Basically what I'm trying to get at is people are like, oh, this is funny, it's different areas of London. Like, what I want to really get across is we're all clones of each other. We genuinely are. Like, yes, of course, there's more twatty people. There's people that go to Soho House. There's people who plunge in third space. But like, we're all, I say we're all, so apart from people who grew up in London, like, who actually know what the city's become, like, lots of people are very much clones of each other. There's like a middle class layer of London. There's obviously a working class layer, which I don't think I can talk about because I'm not from that. I think it'd be really bad for me to do so. But like, there's a middle class layer where we all are actually exactly the same. We may have gone to very good state schools, we may have gone to very good private schools, we may have just grown up within London, whatever. But the only identifiable difference that we try and create for ourselves is the area we live in. And because of that, we genuinely go to, I've got my fucking hair down right now because I'm in Stoke Newington. Do you know what I mean? Like, or, you know, you're in West London, you got a gilet. Like, you really get tribal about where you live and who you become because of that. And I find that a really interesting concept because ultimately, if you strip it all down, you can just mold us into whatever type of putty you want to mold us.
Linking that to marketing, that is an obsession with psychographics.
100%. Like, I'm obsessed with that observational side of people. And like, I did this video on Dalston.
I think that's your funniest one.
Right. Okay. But my initial thought was I had some ski boots, and I was basically just like,
that is so
I'm looking at people in East London, and I was just like, these shoes are getting ridiculous now. Like, genuinely, what people are wearing on their feet. I'm like, this is hilarious. So I just thought, fucking hell, I got these sea boots from like a while back, and I haven't really used them in a while. Like, I was like, I should just walk in ski boots.
Mate.
And people, and it got onto like Soho House memes, which in itself is hilarious. Yeah. Like the meta of that.
Yeah.
But I was just there like,
mate, what you should do and this is actually true. You leave university and you get the people, the worst are the sort of the lawyer types if we're going into London.
Yeah.
And I've like
my brother, like yours.
Yeah, like my brother. No, but as in like they work that really. So they like to say that they go to Houghton Festival.
Oh yeah.
And they're like, oh, man, that fucking Houghton, bruv, a bit of our beef.
I'm doing a bit of Chris Dussy.
Yeah.
Oh, Craig Richards.
Yeah, exactly. But so what they'll do is they'll go to Clapham, and be like, yeah, I live in Clapham now, and it's just Clapham's fucking amazing.
Yeah.
And then what they'll do is they'll move to East London, start getting some I'm joking, I'm going to say a Brompton bike. Henry's got a Brompton bike in the corner, that's a joke. But then they'll go...
Brompton are listening.
Yeah.
That would be fab.
Then they'll go, oh my God, you live in Clapham. Yeah, we're out in Hackney now, and it's like, but then it's like, mate, you go,
sense of it all.
Yeah, you're going. It's like the status of Clapham wasn't enough, so you had to go and get the status in fucking Stoke Newington, or
in order to get your ticket to Houghton.
Exactly. But it goes back to that tribalism. It's just 100%. Like just moves, and it's like but it is, and I think
mate, the thing is like. I genuinely believe we live in the best city in the world.
100%.
I haven't been to many other cities. I really haven't travelled. Like, I would love to travel.
Mate, try Milton Keynes, son.
I'm from Bath. Like, my parents are from Bath. I'm so fortunate to come from Bath. But I'd look at London and I'm like, whoa. And the fact that I just find, like, every area I've been to, it's just so rich of so much stuff. And it's so great. Not necessarily because there's a new cafe. Like, I, again, have this whole thing at the moment where I'm walking into cafes and I'm like, everything looks the same. Like the Pelican pub, I don't mind poo-pooing it. Or like, I was like, I look at that, I'm like, this just looks the same as like the Hero. Or like, I'm like, where's the identity gone? Like, where's the identity gone of places? But at the same token, I love London because of the fact that, you know, I cycle past this like old school cafe with like the builders in it. And I don't want that to ever leave. But unfortunately, because of gentrification, people are being stretched out a bit more. But I don't know what I'm trying to make there as a point. I'm just trying to what I'm ultimately trying to get across is like everywhere has this similar veneer, like facade.
Cool is, so I interviewed Will Storr, who's wrote some amazing books. He wrote The Status Game.
Yeah.
The Selfie, How the West Became Self-Obsessed, which I think you'd love.
Okay. Right.
And he wrote The Science of Storytelling. So he was the one. You'd love all his books. I fucking like
awesome,
wank over them, mate. They're fucking brilliant. but you know, I've read them. But he was the one who put me onto Chris Booker's story, The Seven Basic Plots. He's a brilliant author. He's been on road.
Awesome, all over.
Yeah.
I'm actually frustrated. I haven't read those.
Oh, mate, mate. But what he was saying to me is he was talking about the role of status in architecture and 3-star Michelin restaurants, and he basically says, and he wrote a book called The Blandemic, fucking great title,
brilliant.
And he says, but what's happened is in architecture we never see any great architecture now, is because to get as an architect to get status, you have to create something not for the consumer but to impress other architects. So you'll create like a kind of a very like reductionist and like sort of bland, and the consumer will be like, that is a fucking eyesore. But all the hooty-fluty architects are like, oh my God, that's amazing. With Michelin star food, right? He said he went to Noma.
Yeah.
And everything was in a pipette and tasted of fucking vinegar, right? Bear in mind, it's the best restaurant in the world. He goes, why? And this is not me slagging off the chef, Rennie Rezepi. I'd love to speak to him, but it's all good here, mate. But what I'm saying is, it's like they're trying to create stuff not to impress other chefs, and not to impress the not to actually care about the consumer. And that's why I think St. John's brilliant, because they've got banging food, but they actually think about, is it actually yummy? You know, and is it not some fruity?
St. John's is a real anomaly. Like, to bring it back to work and my boss, like, it's very interesting. You know, he basically said that, you know, maybe people want that comfort. And that was really interesting. I was like, oh, I'm quite sick and tired of seeing all the same like, bearing in mind, I'm a hypocrite. I'm in these cafes. I'm doing it, but I'm just there like, oh, they all look the same. But he was like, mate, people want the comfort. And he's like, bring that back to work. He's like, people want the comfort of feeling like Passionfruit's got their back, or they go to an event and they're like, this feels like a Passionfruit event, and there's like a comfort to it. And so I think, you know, when you go to the Pig, if people, I haven't been to a lot of these fancy places outside of London, purely on from a, what do you call, like a moral standpoint. But I look at all these photos of like the Pig, and I'm like, mate, that could just be slap bang in the middle of Notting Hill. I'm like, what's the difference? But I think the reason why people like going somewhere so it's the whole Soho House concept. Why on earth would you go all the way to bloody Mexico if you can, and spend time in the Soho House? Everyone's like, oh my God, the Soho House in Mexico is brilliant. Yeah. Why don't you go to the cafe? But people like the comfort.
Yeah, well, I think they like the comfort, but they like the status of it. Like the pig signals status. It says, right, like, I've got dough. 2, right, I'm in the club. 3.
That's exactly it.
So I mean, Seth Godin said on the podcast that any idea that the rule of marketing that was around 1,000 years ago, that will be around. That was a question. Was like, what rule of marketing was around 1,000 years ago? Was around today and will still be around in 1,000 years.
Status.
He goes 3 things. Status.
Yeah.
Whatever you do, if it gives people status, affiliation, which is connection, and freedom of fear. So the Pig. You get status by going to the Pig because it's a swanky wanky place. You get connection because it's like, you know, in Soho House, for example, connection's like, oh, I'm in Soho House, babe. You with your fucking fedora hat outside. I'm inside, bitch.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And then you get the fear of freedom by saying, if you're outside of Soho House, your fear that you're missing out because you look like a lemon.
But like, yeah, I agree with that. But then also, isn't it so contrived nowadays that like, the lack of inclusivity is so,
I think it's both
demoralizing for others that but and we as marketers, it's really I don't know if it's disappointing or if it's like a thing that we need to work on as marketers, maybe, is just sort of like allowing for that, like, I don't know, like, it's why I'm very conscious with these events that we're doing, to make sure that we still put on cool bigger events for like people coming through at the lower, like, who are maybe social media, maybe executives, and then junior brand managers, brand managers.
One day, aren't they?
Exactly. We need to look look after them.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've gone on like a huge tangent there about society and about. Like,
but as I say, this just waffles with the winds of my curiosity. Basically.
Fine.
So that's all good. But I think
that was great though.
But it goes back to your point. Is it's like this, and it links all the storytelling, comedy.
Yeah.
Ultimately, what people are trying to do, or what you're trying to do, is get into people's psychographic, not demographic.
Yes.
And then what your comedy is basically taking the piss out of them, in my opinion, is humans' desire for status, affiliation, and freedom of fear. Like if you went,
you've literally hit the nail.
Yeah, exactly. And I wrote a piece about this, saying that. If I talked about roller skating because I wrote a weekly newsletter, I talked about the status game. I said roller skating in Hackney. My mate lives in East London.
I'm actually looking to do a road.
Yeah. So you're in London,
in Victoria Park.
Victoria Park, you've got those stones roller skaters on a Sunday.
That's the bit, mate. I've been out there. And
Exactly.
Yeah.
So everyone, I remember there, and it's like you've got these. It's like doing the robot, and I'm like, this is so fucking.
The old
cringe.
Crouchy.
It's like but as in you've got these really suave Donnies who've done it for years, are roller skating backwards, and then you've got some absolute muppet who's probably just moved to East London, like trying to do the fucking robot next to this guy. I'm like, this is cringe. The guy on the roller skates is high status to the people in Victoria Park, right? Everyone wants to be him. He's high status, right? Conversely, if you go to the City of London, just round the corner, if you were to rock and wear a Patek Philippe, right, the guy at the pub in the city with the Patek Philippe watch on is high status because that watch is worth fucking dough, right? Yeah. Now, this is what Will says: is a status game is everywhere. If a guy rocked up to the beers in the city on roller skates, he's low status because you're like, they'll be like, mate, you're on fucking roller skates, sort it out.
Get yourself a fatigue. Yeah.
If the guy went on to the roller skates with a Patek Philippe, he'd be low status because people are like, this is hackney, mate. We roller skate here. Do you know what I mean?
You've literally just unlocked it, and I think for me, I've never quite articulated it in that way. So thank you, because it's exactly that. Like, in Dalston, the status is to wear a choker, act like that, act like you've got no cash, which a lot of people don't, be broke, but also go out on festivals and club and do some quite seedy stuff, maybe, I don't know, like, and act pretty open sexually and whatever and be quite free-willing. But doing that in Clapham, mate.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I think that's exactly that. Is the status game means different things for different people. But ultimately, again, and it's why I come back to it, like, we're all, if you strip it all down, we're all still very similar.
So
it's just because of where you've ended up, you've pushed into certain narratives. Like, mate, I've got a vinyl recorder now. Hilarious. Why? Like, I think there's an existential crisis of 30-year-olds.
Vinyl recorder?
A vinyl player.
Yeah.
I've got one. Why? Like, I'm now collecting records. It's hilarious. Like, 30 years old, I'm now like, oh yeah, and I collect records. Like, I go down to Next Door Records 2 in Stoke Newington, and I got the new Fontaines DC's album out. Like, you know how everyone's got... It's hilarious. I think the most important thing, which I think hopefully I myself am happy with myself, is just taking a slight step back from it and acknowledging that I'm that guy. We're acknowledging that we're that guy. And I think the quicker that maybe Londoners, because I think we are I spoke about this off camera with you, but like, we are quite serious Londoners, I think, in the same way that Parisians are. And I think the moment that we just take a step back and have a bit of a laugh at ourselves, I think Brits take the piss out of themselves brilliantly. I think Brits really do. But maybe London over the last few years has had London's over, like, the Soho fashion kids that are there, like, interviewing, like, oh man, he's your favourite fashion icon, man. I'm like, what do you mean, you fucking plonker? Or like the guys who were just sipping a Guinness, be like, oh, that's the best Guinness. Like, mate, what are you doing?
Mate,
like, honestly, what are you doing just outside a pub sipping it? Yeah, the Devonshire's got a great Guinness, mate. But the guy who runs the Devonshire's probably like, I don't get it. I don't get why these lads, right? Like, we are here to fucking serve a great Guinness. That's what we're gonna do. I don't know why why people need to get their phone out.
So, mate, I asked James Smith, who's that big influencer, but he's brilliant. He's almost like the Gordon Ramsay of. He's got like at one point, I think he's got 2 million followers.
Right. Massive
influence, but he basically calls out the bullshit.
Yeah.
And I believe you're not calling out bullshit.
No.
You're not calling out bullshit. You're showing us the bullshit and the hilarity of the whole thing.
Calling it out.
You're not calling it out. You're basically saying, like, you're basically showing how we're all the fucking same, but in these little pockets of London, we've got different desires for status, fear, and affiliation.
Go to the old Shalani in Stoke Newington, my local.
Yeah.
And there's just people. Genuinely, I'm there writing about. I literally went there a fortnight ago and was writing some comedy. And a guy literally next to me, he's just tasted it and gone,
mate,
tastes different here, doesn't it, mate?
Yeah.
And I'm there like, oh my God, like, it's so funny.
Yeah, so I take the piss out of Wilf. Who's on
Marriott. Yeah.
He moved to fucking. I always say, to investors, you say you live in East Dulwich, but to your mates at the pub, you say you live in Peckham. And I'm like, which one are you, mate? You East Dulwich or you fucking Peckham? But back to James Smith.
Double standards.
Yeah, double standards. Yeah, I was like, you'll put your fucking Supergas on when you go to fucking Peckham.
Hold tight the Berkeys.
Yeah, exactly. But James Smith was saying, I asked him a question which was kind of, it was fully loaded. I was like, how have Clapham fitness influencers ruined the world? And because I see it a lot, and it's just like and I think this is one of the sort of the serious.
Josh Berry and Sam Forsyth do a really good job on that online. They can't really, like, Sam Forsyth in particular is really good.
I know Josh Berry. He's
Sam Forsyth's really funny.
Yeah,
I think it's Forsyth's last name. We speak on Instagram a bit. he does like all of these. His basically his vertical. It sounds fucking wanky. Is fitness, and he like takes the piss out of fitness people, but he does it because he's a fitness guy.
Yeah. Okay.
Just sorry about the Clapham instructor.
But as in, it's like in terms where I'm trying to sort of the thread I'm trying to pull on here is you talked about the seriousness of London, and I kind of have felt that, and it's like, and that's why I love the little microcosm of food and drink, because it's not serious. It's everyone 100%. Like I love crazy fuckers, and everyone
are crazy.
Everyone in this industry to like set up a bit food and drink business. You
need to be crazy.
Fucking nuts. I literally get so much energy from these people. And I think that's why I'd never leave it. But you go outside of that one little microcosm, and it's like, fuck me, everything is so serious. It's like, you've got to put up your Strava time. You know, Strava, if you're not doing a sub-3 marathon, you're a piece of shit. If you're not doing keto, you're a piece of shit.
100%.
If you're drinking, you're a piece of shit. And I know you're not drinking at the minute, but it's like, it's fucking weird. And I think it is this sort of seriousness.
Gets you down.
And it's like this.
Down. And that's why the rat race, that's why it's called the rat race. That's why ultimately some people are like, don't want to be a part of it, mate.
Yeah.
I found myself before I started doing the comedy and maybe before Passionfruit permanently, and it was really not like a bad side to me. I was just like, that person next to me is just doing better than me. And you just permanently feel like that. I think in London it gives people that, like, there's always someone who's got a better promotion. There's always someone who's, I don't know, moved into a lovely neighborhood or got a dog, or like, I don't know, maybe they're just starting something. And even if you're on however much grand a year, there's maybe someone who's just started, I don't know, macchiato business, and you're then jealous about that. And I feel like London kind of makes people into that. Now, hilariously, we're really going deep into like the negatives around London, but at the same time, I still find it a fascinating city.
And I would say it's the best city in the world.
Yes,
it's not. It's just there's a.
But there is there's a competition to London that is unrivaled to other.
What I would say, and
apart from New York, maybe, which I've never been to, but like,
New York's sick. I would actually say this again. It's really nuanced. I would say on the macro social media level, London has become very serious.
100%.
On the micro, with your 5 mates at the pub, it's still fucking jokes. Do you know what I mean? But the issue is, it's this big macro.
But mate, write it down.
Yeah. No, but it is. It's that macro level, and I think that's what you're so good at. Is that you're piercing through it, and you're sort of, and it's almost because of social media, people are having to feel that they've got this status.
But isn't it ironic that it needs to be put out on social media?
Yeah, exactly.
For people to do it.
Yeah.
And like my girlfriend is I hate the term fiance. Like, my girlfriend is a talent agent at Independent Talent, so like big talent agency, and she works on literary, and she looks after writers, producers, directors. Funnily enough, like, I've never done any comedy until the last year. We've been with each other for 5 years, but it's quite serendipitous actually, because she knows a lot about the area, and she's not on social media. She's just like, no, like, I can't deal with it. I think that's quite fascinating, really, for someone who is literally in the hot seat for a writer or a producer or someone. Is they're like, no, I don't want to be on it. And she's really adamant about that. Now, at times I think, God, like, she didn't know what Substack was yesterday, and I was like, whoa, I can't believe it. But at the same time, I'm kind of like, fucking fair play. Like, you're sticking to your guns, and like, she knows the comedy stand-up circuit inside out, and she knows like the actual, to the point that we're trying to make around like the purest element of it really, really well. But I'm there, silly Henry, doing videos on the side, and she's sometimes a bit like, oh, but she's very supportive. Of course, she's very supportive of what.
Let's talk about those videos, because what's been, because I think another thing with all this is like not attaching your self-worth to the ups and the downs of the videos.
Yes.
And I've noticed this with podcasts. Like, I'll do a podcast that I think it's going to boot off, and it doesn't.
Yeah.
I'll do one that I think is going to do shit, and it boots off.
Yeah.
It's just part of the process. What's a video that you've put in loads of work and it hasn't booted off?
You know what? My most recent one I did so Hella Crep Henners. I did this interview thing in Soho, and it really popped off. I got like maybe like 700,000 views and quite a lot of likes out of it. And then I was at my mate's wedding, and I wasn't drinking. It was like my first sober wedding I'd done, and on the second day, like, they had like a bit of a party, and it was called like a Texas Hoedown, and he just gave me the microphone, and my best mate Jack, so two best mates, Geordie and Jack. Jack was who I'm seeing tonight. He lives in Suffolk, and he was DJing, and I just got up next to him and I started spitting bars, like, as this character, Hella Crap Henners, and I don't know why it started to do okay. I think people found it funny. Anyway,
You put this on Instagram?
No. I just like at this wedding, I was just like up doing this thing because I wasn't drinking. I was like needing to do something. So I was like, Anyway, I think people found it funny. Anyway, people came up to me and I think this is funny. So then I basically worked on Hella Crep Henners, the Soho fashion kid, being a rapper. Because obviously all these kids, they're into rap, they're into grime, they're into whatever. And I found it like, what if Hella Crep Henners was this like middle-class kid who's trying to be a rapper and he's like wearing all these gears. So I basically put loads and loads. I spent a lot of my own money, which I got from work, and like we spoke about this offline. I got no savings. I got like literally nothing. I'm just trying to. I believe it's really important to invest properly in shit like now, like yourself. So put a load of money into this video of me in the studio being Hella Crap Henners, and I did this whole sketch of like I'm trying to remember now. Whoa, hold it back. It's me, the home county's 2-pack, bandana on my head like a middle-class wanker, back of mum and dad, a Trustafarian and Rasta. And I did this like, I thought it was brilliant. I got this like guy to make a beat out of it, and I put it out thinking it would land. It just didn't. Like, hey, it's still got 70,000 odd views and it's still got 1,000 odd likes. But I really thought it was going to pop, and it didn't. And I was like, whoa. But you know what I'm really proud of, I'm happy about, is I was so happy with that work. Like, I look at that video and I'm like, do you know what? Do you now live in so-and-so? It's just an easy, like, I'm just there like, yeah, like, you know, I get 500,000 views from the Walthamstow one. And I'm like, brilliant. But I couldn't be prouder of that one. And a few of my mates messaged me like, this is comedy. Like, this is funny.
Also, this is the thing, and this is why
so I'll do it 100% again. I will do that type of thing.
But this is why stats don't tell you everything, because you don't know that those 70,000 people may. So you got the one that got like 600,000 or whatever it was. Your biggest one versus that one, the one you're most proud of, is that may be the one that that the people who did listen, it will be their favourite. And actually, and I think that's what I wanted to get into your mindsets, because I've Ryan Holiday, Obstacles the Way, Ego is the Enemy, great books. Favourite quote.
Yeah.
Which is the work is the win. And that's what I say to myself. The win for me is waking up in the morning to write and to think and not to write.
The journey is the destination.
I know, yeah. It sounds exactly.
Sounds wanky. No,
it's true. And I remember I went to a pub. So there's a David Bowie pub. Well, it's called the Cartford Inn in. I did the Warehouse Project interview. Then fucked off to this pub.
Yeah.
Who Sam actually, who lives in Suffolk, Dom, who lives in Suffolk, who does the PR for the Devonshire and the Suffolk, the way you're going tonight.
Just for everyone to know, I'm doing a video on Suffolk. I'm literally going on the train to go. Suffolk video.
Yeah, just for some context. Yeah. Anyway, he hooked me up with those guys and went up there, and it is this pub. The names have escaped me, but it's this French husband and Lancashire lass, right? They've met and they've got this pub, and it's this. They call this pub their paradise.
Yeah.
And it's mate, you go in there, it's fucking sick. She's obsessed with David Bowie, so David Bowie's everywhere. Cool. I had the most amazing stay there.
Yeah.
The most amazing stay. The warmth of that fucking hospitality. I was talking about this with Julie Metcalf the other day. It was like it was literally like getting a cuddle in fucking cotton wool. It was gorgeous. The food was amazing. The guy was like, mate, that fucking suet pudding will change your fucking life. Yeah. I was like, scuff something. He was bringing me more sticky toffee pudding.
Yeah.
I had the most amazing night. Then I sat there with them for like 2 hours, had a chat about the family business, about the struggle to get it all going. Fuck all people listen to that podcast, but it was one of my favourite ones I've ever done. And that, I think what I'm pulling from you and kind of just teasing out myself is like the work is the win. Right. Like, and as long as I do the conversation that, like, loads of people say to me, oh, it's too long. I'm like, well, two options, mate. Do it in 3 sittings. There's 3 commutes. You're not doing 1 commute a week. Yeah. Option 2, put it on double speed.
Exactly.
You know, and it's
but I couldn't agree more. And I think to like, whether it's comedy or whether it's the work, like I'm currently, like I continue to say, like I can't believe where I've got to, but at the same time I've got so much more to go. Like the fact that you've had people on your show like Rory Sutherland and Seth Godin and people like that, I'm like, whoa, like I look up to these guys. But what I'm finding so much value in at the moment is just it's exactly that, like doing the work I'm loving. Like I love nothing more than at the moment, and it sounds so cliche. People must be like, come on, mate, have a day off. No, I genuinely mean it. I love walking in here at 9 a.m. I like love working for this company. I genuinely would walk through a brick wall for this company at the moment, because I've seen other businesses and how they are, and see other people, and I'm like, whoa, this is incredible. And it's not, the 27th of November is our last event for this quarter. We'll wrap it up, we'll go again. I'll have a few beers on the 27th of November. I'll have a good time. Like Elsie and I will do like a nice treat together. We'll go somewhere nice, like with my teammate, because we would have done a really good stint. But the enjoyment I'm getting out of the challenge, like not getting like then be like, oh my God. And then like that enjoyment, or the enjoyment of having to wake up early one day to travel all the way to somewhere to do a video. And I don't know, I love the enjoyment of it, like falling over on my bike because I'm on a Brompton and being like, oh my God, that's quite funny, like because I'm just really zoned in on trying to achieve something. That's what I get massive enjoyment out of. So I'm like really happy you brought that up, because I couldn't agree more on that. And I want to also say, like, it's hard, like it's so hard, and it must be like 10 times harder for people who are in like real positions of power or responsibility. But I think they must get that as well. They must get the enjoyment out of the challenge. And you must as well. Like I'm seeing you here this morning, you're fucking moving hell for leather with loads of shit, and you're propping up loads of stuff, and you're just in it, and you're like, that must be the enjoyment for you as much as it is maybe the final cast.
Well, it's Paul Graham. I don't know if you've ever read his essays, but he's got the do what feels like play to you but looks like work to others. And you know, I love that quote, and it's
full of quotes today, mate.
Yeah.
Unreal.
I was practicing this morning, son. That's weird. That's one thing writing does do for you, is because I'm constantly pulling notes into the newsletter, so it's like you're training your brain. So when I'm actually, it's not like I will do a newsletter each week of like shit I've learned.
Yeah.
But what you're actually, so it means I can, when I'm doing this now, it's like my brain's actually just trained to do it.
Yeah, smart. Yeah, I'm there thinking that you're a bloody polymath, mate.
No. It's not. It's probably like you with the.
What have you been up to, mate?
Yeah.
Get a bit better at that.
Got a clipboard under here, mate.
Yeah, fine.
But it goes like that, and if you're doing what feels like play to you and work to others, you're going to win.
Yes, exactly.
With consistency.
Exactly.
And
with consistency,
what's the hardest bit about consistency for you now? Like, and like, are you ever, because you're trying to do one a week?
Or there or thereabouts. Like, I'm not actually. I think the hardest thing for me is devoting enough proper time to it without having an effect on others around me. I want to make sure that that's really important, that I have downtime. Like, I'm very particular now with not looking at my phone over the weekends. Well, I say that if I'm doing a comedy video, like I'll edit, but I won't. I'll shoot it, but I won't like edit. Or I think that's a challenge. I think the challenge for me, mate, is next year. I'm there like, whoa, okay. I've done 40 posts. I can't believe I've got 35,000 followers. I genuinely cannot believe it. I'm there like, at the start of the year, I was like, oh, it'd be nice to get 10,000 followers. Like, I'm now maybe looking at like 45,000, 50,000 followers by the end of the year. If I get that, I'm like, what? Like next year, I've got a wedding. I like really working towards a promotion at work. I'd bloody love to get one at work and get newfound responsibility. If I get that at scale up, like we all know what scale ups are like when you get Series A, Series B, Series C, like they're growth companies. Like they don't fuck around. Like these guys aren't fucking around, and I love that about them. Like I really, really love being on that horse. So that I've got a wedding that I'm planning.
Whereabouts do you get married?
Getting married in May, down in the Isle of Wight. My girlfriend's family are from down there.
Sick.
And so I'm just like, I know I've got this book. So I think the main worry for me is like, I've been able to achieve all of that and I've been able to plan the wedding and stuff now because I'm not drinking and stuff. I think my main fear is what do I really need to focus on? And I believe for the comedy thing is the work comes first, always. I really want to make that clear. I want my work to come first. Bringing the comedy into work is something I'm really going to look forward to doing in 2025. And then for me, I'm not doing stand-up at the moment or anything else. The main strategy is do the videos on stuff about Londoners and then areas of London, because then the end goal is to do the book, You Now Live in London, which is the social stereotype, lovely little Christmas book, whether it's for next year or the year after. And that's then that chapter closed. So I think that's what I need. But whether or not I'll be able to keep on doing that at the rate I'm doing in the next 6 months, maybe not, because I've got a wedding, or maybe not because I may be flying out to America with work a bit or something like that. We're just opening up a New York office. I don't know yet. I'll let my boss tell me. Yeah. Hopefully. But, you know, maybe I'll be doing that type of stuff. I don't know. So I think to cut a long story short, it's like, what am I most worried about? But also, like, I'm worried about the fact that I won't be able to do it all in this amount of time. But at the same time, I'm also comfortable with being like, mate, it's not going anywhere. You know, like, you may lose a few followers. I'm not doing it for the followers. I'm doing it for myself. And I also really hope, and maybe my mates can back me up with this, maybe that I really want to prove I'm not a one-trick pony. I want to prove I can be a marketing director. I want to prove that you people have different like lives, and they can be a personality in this area, but they can also hold down a good job in this area. That's what I really want to try and prove. Yeah. With discipline. Yeah. Like, and I want to see how far Passionfruit gets me, because I'm not fucking leaving this train until I get fired. I'm telling you, I love it.
Yeah, but I think that's why I will begin to wrap this up. But I think that's why I'm really intrigued by yourself, mate. But also Passionfruit allowing you to do it, and I think it allows.
They're brilliant. They're brilliant at it.
Yeah, because I think so many companies. I don't know. I feel like everything's kind of serious on social, at least. Yeah. So if I go to the pub with my mates,
it's fun.
It's a bloody great laugh, mate.
All right, Brent.
What does he say? Lager.
Lager. What's your tipple?
Yeah.
Coke, me lager, me lager, Finchy lager, Gareth lager, Sun's cider. Different drinks for different
needs. Yeah. So good.
Anyway, we digress.
But I think it's kind of between you two. I think one Passionfruit's a great example of how companies can run in today's world, especially. But then also you
make a big thing about that.
Yeah.
It's the work. You have your targets.
Yeah.
But if the way you get there is up to you.
Yeah, exactly. And also, but then I think you're a great. I think this comedy, and actually in this Daniel Kahneman book. Which you'd love, The Undoing Project. So these two Israeli guys, are who they created behavioral economics, and that is what Rory Sutherland is. So these two guys, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman, are basically Rory Sutherland's like idols, right?
Right. Okay.
And so they changed the way the world thought about everything, right? And
Sutherland put an incredible brand-specific lens on it. Advertising lens.
Exactly. But fundamentally, Sutherland is a behavioral economist, and he basically, and you know, what they both worked for the Israeli army about ways to test who's going to be the next corporal, and but anyway, they were both opposing people. One was very shy, one was very kind of timid and kind of self-loathed himself. That was Daniel, and then Amos was very like gregarious, thought himself the best in the world. And they had this fucking huge tension. They hated each other to begin with.
Yeah.
But the one thing that brought them together was laughter.
Right.
And I think, and this is what I think you're doing in the workplace. I know it's when David Brent says it's not accepted in the workplace. It's like, but I think you're treading that lens and you're showing laughter is fucking important in the workplace. I know I sound like fucking Brent here.
Yeah.
But these two were opposites, and they would talk in the book about how their laughter stoked and galvanized their creativity.
Yes.
And I think when everything's getting so serious, you get people like yourself, right? There's other ways to do this. And I think comedy is fucking brilliant, mate. And I think...
Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah,
I think that's ultimately one thing I had written down from the very start when I started at Passionfruit, and wanting to make sure that we have a laugh at work, and by doing it, you actually become more serious at your job. Like,
that's delicious. Say that again. So what? But
so like,
having
laughter and being upbeat and being like in a similar vein, you become more serious at your line of work. I think when I was in careers before where everything was just down and you're just there, you can't be free. It's because basically if you're having a laugh, it's what we said earlier, like, you know, creativity is intelligence having fun, like being outwardly open and being able to not just crack a joke, but being open-faced and being your body language being open. I think that resonates maybe with other people, being able to go out and do it. Hey, we all make fucking mistakes. I make mistakes every minute. But again, I want to continue to say, like, we are not even scratching the surface. Like, we are a Series A startup. Great. We've got HSBC, Pepsi, Alica Bank, AB and Bev. I don't know, like loads of great businesses that work for us, but we're not even starting yet. Like, we really aren't. And I think the moment that we stop and try and act like we are is the moment we'll end. But I think continuing to laugh through the adversity of running a scale up. A lot of people who watch this will know, or listen to this will know, like, well, they all know it's hard. But I think finding humour in it, I think is how a lot of people deal with this, right? And I think a lot of the great, maybe for co-founders you've spoken to, or a lot of people who've maybe made a career out of it, I don't know, or who've done all right, probably have a way of looking at it that's a bit more like, you know, like we had $3,000 in the bank, and
I mean, so so there's these two founders, three founders from a beer brand called Local. And actually, I can actually hook you up with them. So he tried to be a comedian, my mate James.
Right.
Fucking failed, didn't you? Stupid fuck. No, I'm joking. But
that doesn't happen to me.
Yeah. He's a joker, but like him and Louis are, because actually I do think there's a lot of sort of very serious kind of, not discourse, but kind of way of thinking in terms of building a brand. It's like, you've got to hit your numbers, you've got to ice bath in the morning. It's the whole fucking founder wank we've been hearing about.
100%.
What they do is they're
propagated by VCs.
Yeah, exactly. They're just so, and I love hanging out with them because they're just super. They work so hard because they laugh so much.
Right.
Like that's basically what it is.
Right.
And we had that at Moneylife for a period of time when I was at the peanut butter business.
Yeah.
Like I was basically working with my three best mates, and it was fucking jokes, but because we were laughing, and like it makes people work harder. And I really do believe there's you've got to have a laugh.
Yeah, but I also want to say, like, the people who are more introverted at Passionfruit or whatever, they still find ways of making other people laugh and stuff like that. And like, I don't just think it's the loud mouth like myself. I'm very particular about not talking much in meetings. Like for me, I could, like you, maybe we could just run off and chat all day. But like actually allowing for other people to speak is a really important thing that we really initiate at Passionfruit. And silence is great, and conflict is even better. Conflict is a great tool. People, I think, maybe it's a lasting thing that we're going to chat about because we need to wrap it up. But like our bosses, it's fine. But our like bosses are very particular about like, it's okay to bring conflict into the workplace. But I think because we are light about it, we are able to see things and get on with it quickly.
Oh yeah, but I like that as well. Like I had a bit of, it wasn't even conflict. It was, I was talking about with Julian Metcalf.
Yes.
And he was going to me, I was like, is it more important to be different or better? And he was like, yo, different, stupid. He goes, different, stupid. He goes, if you want to do a podcast different, you do it in a fucking swimming pool. And it's like such a great point, but it's said in a sort of a comedic, not comedic way, but it's cantankerous and it's conflicting. But if you envelope that in a culture that is where things are kind of funny and allowed to be funny, then it's conflict without the sort of the jagged edges. Do you know what I mean?
100%. Get it.
Mate, let's wrap that up. That's fucking banging. I really love that. And
good stuff, eh?
Salut, brother.
Boom. Thanks a lot. Cheers, Dan. All the best.